Marvel. Rescue Iron Man's father at the beginning. Chapter 101. Driven by superhero fans, Superman app has continued to increase both in terms of downloads and daily activities. 20 days after its launch, the number of downloads exceeded 200 million, and the number of daily active users reached 40 million. This also means that there will be one daily active user in every 5 downloads, which is evident. You must know that the total downloads of the Kusan app are more than 5 billion, but its daily active users are only more than 100 million, which means that there will only be one daily active user in every 50 downloads. To a large extent, this is also caused by the serious homogeneity of its content and the lack of fan stickiness. Over time, the method of just using money to attract traffic stars has become weak. Although Kusan app still takes the lead in the rankings, the gap between Superman app and it is narrowing rapidly. With the passage of time, the download volume, popularity value and best-selling value of Superman app are also rising, catching up with several popular social applications one after another, catching up with the trend of a dark horse, and soon occupying the first place on the major lists, the posture of the second and third place. After the huge amount of traffic, it also represents huge amounts of potential value, but Colin is not in a hurry to realize it, but instead pursues the victory and invests more to maintain the broadband of Superman app, improve system optimization and user experience. It is worth mentioning that the topic about seeing the United States Captain Steve in women's clothing was initiated by a Superman app user, and the number of likes soon exceeded 5 million, and it was listed on the topic list and hot list, sparking heated discussions. Many people come here just because of the reputation. Even with the Superman app, the tide goes up. Netizens who were originally good things also participated in it with a funny and spoof mentality. Unexpectedly, Steve really deserves to be a good captain of the people of the United States. He put everyone's wishes first, and actually wore women's clothing for the first time. A wavy gold wig, flaming red lips, exquisite makeup, and a woman's tight bodysuit borrowed from Black Widow, the burly and muscular figure made the dress bulge, almost explosively. What definitely catches the eye is his proud ton of the United States. The abrupt style of painting brings huge amounts of impact to people's vision. Wow, Steve is actually wearing women's clothing. Front tummy and back chow. This explosive figure is really unrecognizable. People dare not look directly at it. WOMG, I think the Captain of the United States can be renamed the United States Mercy. Fark, why does my heart skip a beat when I look at Steve in women's clothing? It's not good. Congratulations to the one upstairs who was successfully bent by the United States. Haha, buddy, are you sure you're not here to be funny? Isn't it just a women's dress? What's so special? Oops, my nosebleed is almost unstoppable. Someone help me get a napkin. As Steve tried on women's clothing for the first time, the meme of the United States ton quickly became popular on the internet, and even rushed to the headlines of the day. Thanks to Steve's brilliant performance, the download of the Superman app, the volume and heat value ushered in another rapid rise. The top floor of the new Stark building. Since Colin joined the Avengers and served as the captain, he moved the base of the Avengers Alliance here. In this way, the new Stark building is not only the headquarters of Stark, but also the base camp of the Avengers Alliance. Colin remodeled the top 5 floors so that it has the functions of combat command, defense, technology research and development, and leisure area. Right now, the Avengers Alliance has just completed a mission and is celebrating in the leisure area. Hey Steve, your women's wear is an eye-opener, a veritable ton of the United States. Tony can't remember how many times he has watched the video of Steve's women's clothing today. Every time he sees this video, Hawkeye can't help but want to complain. The sour scene was naturally recalled in my mind, and everyone couldn't help laughing. Even Steve held his forehead and laughed at himself. It can't be helped, sometimes it's a sin to have a good figure. Natasha Romanoff on the side looked at Steve seriously. Seriously, as a woman, I would be jealous of your amazing body. Thor and Hawkeye, who were leaning against the bar and chatting hotly, also laughed heartily. There is a cheerful atmosphere in the base. Steve, who has always maintained a positive image of Wei Guang, did not expect to end up unsafe for the evening because of a women's clothing video. He looked at Colin with a serious expression. Colin, you can operate from the background and post all the women's clothing about me. Was the video deleted? On the same day, Steve uploaded a video to satisfy the wishes of many netizens. He deleted the video shortly after it was uploaded, but it still spread uncontrollably on the internet. Colin shrugged, smiled and said, "Steve, as you know, Superman app has strict rules, and users are not allowed to delete and modify their videos without violating any rules. Besides, your video has been saved in their mobile phones and hard drives. Even if it is deleted, it will not help." Steve rubbed his forehead again, regretful in his heart. I don't know why he posted that women's clothing video in a flash of his head. Seeing everyone chatting and laughing enthusiastically, Natasha Romanoff couldn't help feeling a little bit emotional. Speaking of which, today is a day worthy of congratulations. Our Avengers Alliance is basically all here, but Banner is missing. Quote. Colin nodded irrefutably. Yeah, right now, he is practicing in Kamar Taj, trying to find a way to reconcile with Hulk. I believe he will be a brand new look when he comes back. Banner at the moment is still practicing with Ancient One Mage in Kamar Taj, and I don't know if he has mastered the way to control his emotions. Okay, don't talk about this sad topic, or let's play a game. After taking a sip of rum, Thor suddenly made a suggestion, trying to liven up the atmosphere of the scene, and pretending to be Bobby by the way. What game? I bet none of you can mention my Mjolnir. It will only obey the orders of me, the future king of the Aesir domain. You must be lying. Try it if you don't believe me. As soon as these words came out, the competitiveness of the members present was mobilized. Everyone is gearing up and eager to try. Hawkeye came out to try first, and he grabbed the handle of the hammer and tried his best but couldn't move the hammer, let alone lift it. Then Tony also came out to try, but failed without any accident. Tony looked at Natasha Romanoff. Natasha Romanoff shook her head and declined politely. Oh, no, this is not something I, a woman, should do. Steve also tried to lift Mjolnir in the past. At this time, Thor saw that Mjolnir was a little loose, and couldn't help but stare, but Steve gave up after trying a few times. Just when Thor was about to take this opportunity to pretend to be Bobby, Colin stepped forward and lifted Mjolnir up with 2 fingers, and waved it calmly a few times, as if he had done something wrong. Little things worth mentioning. Hawkeye. Quote question mark. Quote. Hi Ma Wong Natasha Romanoff. Thor. Everyone was stunned, especially Thor and Steve. Thor is the master of Mjolnir. So far, he has never seen anyone other than him mention Mjolnir. Steve also took a deep breath, knowing that he could barely lift it up if he tried his best just now, but he definitely wouldn't be as easy and freehand as Colin, as if he was playing with a toy. Facing everyone's shocked eyes, Colin spread his hands disapprovingly. Hey, I've accepted. While everyone was still immersed in shock, Colin suddenly felt a wave of magic, and then, a portal with faint fire appeared in the base. A well-mannered person came out from the inside, and everyone looked intently, only to see that this person was none other than Dr. Banner. Banner, why are you? Colin frowned slightly. Right now he was practicing in Kamar Taj. Why did he return to New York quietly? Banner. Everyone in the Avengers Alliance looked at Banner, who had returned without warning, and they were both surprised and delighted. Even Colin's eyes flashed a strange color. Isn't Banner supposed to be practicing in Kamar Taj at this moment? Why did he return to New York quietly? However, Banner, who looked anxious at the moment, didn't have time to catch up with everyone, and quickly said, It's too late to say anything, Dormammu from the Dark Dimension is about to call. Dormammu. Both Tony and Thor were full of astonishment, and they couldn't help but look at each other. Without exception, it was the first time they heard this name, and what does this Dark Dimension mean? Dormammu is the ruler of the Dark Dimension, the old enemy of the Earth's magic circle, and has been coveting the Earth for a long time. Thor said with some uncertainty, It's like Malekith trying to return the universe to darkness. Colin nodded irrefutably. That's right, the two have a similarity in that they want to annex other dimensions and turn them into darkness. It has to be said that Dormammu and Malekith share many similarities. The source of their power is to absorb the power of darkness, and both are eager to achieve their goals by invading other dimensions. But as early as 10 years ago, the conspiracy of Dormammu was not killed in the cradle. Why did Dormammu make a comeback? 10 years ago, Colin and the ancient 907 mage jointly prevented Caecilius from seizing the taboo tome to summon Dormammu's conspiracy, and also severely injured him with a broken arm. It stands to reason that this has cut off the connection between Dormammu and the Earth. Why is Dormammu making a comeback again? Could it be that there is something hidden in it? As you said, Caecilius lost his arms more than 10 years ago and was severely injured. During this period, the wizarding world was considered calm. Quote. But not long ago, Caecilius, who had been dormant for a long time, took advantage of the Ancient One mage to go to the emptiness of the multi-universe, and suddenly gathered more dark servants to raid Kamar-Taj. The forbidden secret book that records the method of summoning Dormammu Dayan also disappeared. Banner described the ins and outs of this matter. Where is Ancient One mage now? Now Ancient One mage is guarding New York to Holy Place with Baron Mordo and Wong. London to Holy Place and Hong Kong Island to Holy Place have been captured one after another. Hearing what Banner said, Colin flicked the magic ring on his left thumb, and the psychokinesis of the mind extended hundreds of miles in an instant, detecting the situation from New York to Holy Place. As Banner said, fanatics headed by Caecilius are besieging New York to Holy Place. Ancient One mage and other magic apprentices are struggling. As if sensing Colin's psychokinesis, Ancient One mage raised his head, and the pair of deep eyes under the hood penetrated time and space to look at Colin, with a bit of bitterness in the corner of his mouth. Colin, I'm sorry to take this. Let's meet you again in this form. Colin asked, Supreme Mage, how is the situation now? Ancient One mage. The Agamotto's shield placed at the Holy Place has been destroyed, and the rest of the fanatics are still rushing to support from afar. If this situation continues, we may not be able to support it for too long. Knowing the situation over there, Colin frowned, showing a somewhat dignified expression. As the Asgardian of Earth, Ancient One has repelled countless threats from other dimensions. You know, as early as 1666, Ancient One had already started to fight against Dormammu. After more than 300 years, Dormammu finally made a comeback again. London to Holy Place and Hong Kong Island to Holy Place fell one after another. If New York to Holy Place is folded in again, then Dormammu, who is eyeing a tiger from outside the Earth, will invade without hesitation. At that time, the entire Earth will be in a state of doom, and the multidimensional world will also collapse, and no one on the entire Earth or even the 9 realms can stay out of it. This situation can already be described as urgency. At this time, even though Tony, Thor and others still don't know much about the origin of Dormammu, they realize that the situation is not optimistic from the seriousness on the faces of Kaylin and Banner. Diddy. At the same time, the sensors in the base sounded a rapid and piercing siren, and Tony followed the sound to check. Tony, what's the matter? Steve asked. Come and see. Tony suddenly screamed, with a hint of panic in his tone. Others also came to the quantum computer following the sound, and when they saw a dozen or so images projected on the holographic screen, their expressions changed. These dozens of pictures correspond to the real-time dynamics BFDJ captured by the surveillance cameras in more than a dozen different areas. The electrical system in Times Square in New York failed, and all the building curtain walls and traffic lights went out. A strange vortex appeared in the London harbor of the Eagle Country, and the surrounding sea water poured into the vortex. The streets of Donggying were shocked by a sudden violent wind, and the passers-by along the way were blown to pieces, and the shops on both sides of the street were also ravaged by the strong wind, suffering one after another. The white snow on the top of the Alps melted at an accelerated rate, turning into torrents of snow and pouring down. Abnormal situations like this have occurred on every Earth in the Earth. Cosmic radiation surge. Atmosphere, electric current, gravitational field, magnetic field, tides, etc. all become disordered. Even on Superman app, many netizens uploaded videos of weird natural disasters from all over the world, which caused huge amounts of panic for a while, and many people believed that this was a sign of the end of the world. SHIELD, Hexagon Building, Xavier's School and other organizations have also launched emergency investigations and operations, as if the ants in the fryer are busy. Is this a sign of Dormammu's coming? Colin's eyes flickered with brilliance, and thoughts surged in his mind. But as soon as this idea came up, he was immediately denied by him. Although Dormammu is another existence in the level single universe, his source of energy is the dark dimension, and the catastrophic impact caused by his landing on the Earth is more aimed at the magic dimension. It is impossible to affect so many areas. Besides, from New York to Holy Place it hasn't been broken yet. Looking at this somewhat familiar scene, Colin suddenly had a sense of foreboding in his heart. Now Ancient One Mage can't be relied on, now we can only rely on Avengers. Captain, what should we do? Please give the order. At the moment, Tony, Steve, Thor, Hawkeye, Banner, and Black Widow's eyes all fell on Colin. As the captain and strongest combat force in the Alliance, Colin is undoubtedly the backbone of everyone. Colin wrapped his arms around his body, and his deep eyes also passed by the crowd, and he ordered decisively, "We can't blindly defend passively, but should take the initiative to attack to minimize the impact." What is certain now is that Dormammu is not the only one who intends to invade the Earth now, and we may face more enemies. Thor, Tony, the two of you will go with me outside the atmosphere to detect and block the enemy. Steve, Banner, you rush to New York to Holy Place to support Ancient One Mage and the others. Barton, Natasha Romanoff, you stay in the base to respond, and at the same time contact S.H.I.E.L.D. to activate the defense system, and report immediately if there is any situation. Looking at the 6 members of the Avengers Alliance, Thor and Tony are the only ones who are stronger and capable of fighting in the air, so Colin called these two to fly into the atmosphere together. Colin lightly stroked the fully charged Soul Lord ring and the Reappearance Lord ring, and immediately arched his body slightly, stepped on the ground, and the whole person rose from the base like a rainbow, escaping to the sky. Thor dances to Mjolnir, and Tony is covered in red gold armor. Man, it's time for us to go. Always ready, I'm not afraid of any challenge. After the two looked at each other, they both fled to the sky, to see who their enemy is. Watching the backs of the 3 major forces of the Avengers Alliance soaring into the sky, Steve slowly retracted his gaze, and then took another look at Banner. How is it? How have you been in Kamar Taj this year? Banner spread his hands. Basic tea and light food, exposed to wind and sun, living like an ascetic monk's life. I really don't understand how Colin blessed it. But I have to admit that this is indeed a kind of cleansing and sharpening for the soul. Natasha Romanoff tentatively said, somewhat uncertainly, so, you're reconciled with that hunk of green now. Now I can control my emotions freely. Banner realized their concerns, and then added, at least it won't cause trouble for everyone. Seeing this, everyone couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. In this way, they can concentrate on dealing with foreign enemies, and they will not have to beware of time bombs around them at any time and mess up their positions. Then, the 4 people who stayed in the base quickly got busy following Colin's instructions, contacting S.H.I.E.L.D. to set up a defense system while investigating and supporting the main battle. But Colin turned into a swift rainbow and soared into the sky, broke through the atmosphere in a blink of an eye, appeared in the vast starry sky, and left the entire blue earth behind. Iron Man and Thor also came one after the other, ready to fight. Looking down at the entire Earth from Colin's current angle, you can clearly see the catastrophes that have occurred in various regions of the Earth. The Earth's crust in between is being squeezed sharply. And the culprit who caused this scene is the intruder who is eyeing the Earth. In the dark crack, there is an ethereal spirit body wrapped in black fire, only revealing sinister and ferocious eyes, spying on the Earth. Senluo Purgatory was also torn open, and a cunning demon wearing a scarlet cloak surrounded by countless ghosts and ghosts was also about to move. In addition, there is also a silver figure covered in mercury, with a silver surfboard on its feet, gliding around the Earth like a streamer. Colin's pupils shrank slightly. 3 palpitating powerful air mechanisms locked on the Earth at the same time, and a coercion with a strong sense of oppression permeated the air. These 3 are Dark Dimension Dormammu, Hell Realm Mephisto, Galactus Herald Silver Surfer. All kinds of catastrophes happening around the world are also signs of their invasion of the Earth. And these 3 people, without exception, are other powerhouses in the level single universe. Compared with the other powerhouses of the 3 major level universes, Colin, Tony, and Thor are like fish swimming in the turbulent tide, appearing unprecedentedly small. The Lord of Darkness, the Devil of Hell, and the messengers of Galactus came to the Earth together. It's been a long time. Do you still miss the Earth so much? Facing the three-level universes surrounding him, Colin stood firm in the void, and said calmly. Big Brother Captain, do you know who these three are? Tony and Thor watched in bewilderment. Facing the puzzled looks of the two, Colin quickly introduced the origins of these three-level universes through sound transmission. What makes Colin equally puzzled is why these three unconnected level universes gather in front of the Earth at the same time like never before. Mo Faith's exclamation came from the entrance of Senluo Purgatory. Hey, how do you know the realm of hell? Tisk tisk, have you forgotten? I have dealt with your Ghost Rider before, and he has a deep resentment towards you, the hellish capitalist who tricked him into signing the contract. Colin curled his lips and said, at the same time, his thoughts turned, quickly thinking about the countermeasures. I remembered, you are the big disciple of Ancient One. In the dark crack, Dormammu seemed to think of something, and there was a strong sense of hatred in his words. It's you who prevented the Dark Servant Caecilius from capturing the Taboo Codex 10 years ago with Ancient One. It is because of this that my plan to descend on Earth has been delayed for more than 10 years. Colin raised his sword eyebrows and smiled coldly. You should be grateful for this, otherwise you will be completely reduced to nothing 10 years ago. Dormammu's deep and hoarse voice was as if two pieces of rusted iron were rubbing against each other. Huh, what a brat on Earth who is overconfident. But if you combine a mage at the peak of the Heavenly Father, an Iron Man and an Asgard warrior, together with the Phoenix Force, the fragments are swallowed into the dark dimension, it must be very nourishing. Mo Faith's scarlet eyes also flashed a strong color of greed. Hey, if the Phoenix Force is completely detonated, then the hundreds of millions of undead on the Earth can be harvested at will. Phoenix Force. Hearing what Dormammu said, Colin's eyes revealed a hint of surprise. Could it be that it was because of the rampage of Jean Grey's Phoenix Force that it aroused their covetousness, so that they unanimously launched an invasion of the Earth? Thoughts churned in Colin's mind, analyzing all the strange things about this matter. He felt that his guess should be close to 10. The rampage of the Phoenix Force is like a flash of brilliant fireworks shining in the eternal dark universe. Even if it is fleeting, it is enough to attract their attention. Facing the Earth that is so close at hand, Dormammu and Moto are eager to invade, but the Silver Surfer on the side has a calm expression and an ambiguous attitude. Colin's eyes flickered, quickly judging the gap between the enemy and ourselves. Dormammu, Mo Faith, Silver Surfer, these three are other strengths of level single universe. Even if Moto Faith's strength away from the realm of hell will be weakened, it will not be weakened too much, at least it will remain above the peak of level Godfather, second only to the level of the single universe. So the opponent's strength judgment is 2 level single universes, and 1 quasi-level single universe. Look at yourself. Colin was originally at the peak of the Heavenly Father realm, and with the blessings of artifacts such as the Lord of the Soul and the Lord of Reappearance, he was at most the level of the early stage of the level single universe. And Iron Man and Thor can barely be regarded as 2-level godfathers. The strength of the two sides is very different, and the three major forces of the Avengers Alliance headed by Colin want to defeat their opponents across realms, and the difficulty can be imagined. But even if there is a disparity in strength, there is no other choice but to fight hard. Thinking of this, Colin flicked the Nightcaller ring on the little finger of his right hand, and 2 rays of light shot out from it, one golden and one red, and turned into a set of Leo gold holy clothes covering Colin's whole body. The spear was also held by Colin. If you are sensible, it is best not to step into this thunder pond. Colin, who was wearing the Leo cloth, shone with golden light all over his body, with endless divine brilliance flowing, and the spear of Agamotto in his hand was also surging with raging red flames. If you dare to take a step forward, I don't mind letting you see the power of Mark's armor. Iron Man's palm launcher flashes, miniature homing missiles pop out from his arms, and nano missiles on his shoulders are ready to go. The determination to protect the Earth is not inferior to the protection of Aesir's domain. Thor waved the Mjolnir in his hand, and the arcs of thunder and light gathered in it like dancing silver snakes, and they gathered together. As time passed, the atmosphere stagnated, and the two sides suddenly tensed up, as if they would fight at any moment. At the same time, this strange scene in the starry sky is also fed back to the Earth through Iron Man's first-person perspective image projection. HMPH, just the three of you want to protect this decaying planet. Dormammu's spirit floated out of the dark rift. I saw that his whole body was wrapped in a misty fire, with a pair of sinister and ferocious eyes, staring at the three major powers of the Avengers Alliance, and the cold words were squeezed out word by word. At the same time, the turbulent power of darkness swept in like a wave, trying to submerge Colin and others. Armor of light. Seeing this, Colin shook his arms violently, and the Leo Saint cloth suddenly burst into dazzling gold light, like a golden sun, dispelling the nearby darkness. Colin blocked Dormammu's path, and Thor and Iron Man are against Faith and Silver Surfer respectively. The battle between the three great powers of the Avengers Alliance and the three gods of the level universe is about to start. Thor swung Mjolnir sharply, and struck Faith with a thunderbolt. The energy pulse in Iron Man's palm gushed out, and the missiles on his shoulders and wrists roared towards Silver Surfer. Call out. Following a sharp tearing air sound, a ray wrapped in ghostly fire rushed towards Colin. A sharp look flashed in his eyes. Colin's 10 fingers changed like flying, 2 magical auras condensed in the palm of his hand, and 2 sharp and condensed magical lightnings suddenly split out in the blink of an eye. Boom! Amidst the loud bang, 2 tyrannical energies bombarded one place fiercely, and the shaped air circle exploded. 15. Purple Susano was blessed on the surface of the armor. Colin's figure was thunderous, and with the Agamotto spear in his hand, it turned into a streamer of red gold and entered the darkness, fighting with Dormammu. As another evil god of the level single universe, Dormammu has the terrifying power to rival the venerable almighty Agamotto, but what is shown in the original book is just the tip of the iceberg. In the original book, Doctor Strange has no chance of winning against Dormammu, and can only use the extreme method of Time Gem to trap himself and Dormammu in the endless time vortex to persuade him to quit. In the comics, it is even more exaggerated. Even the combination of Hulk plus Ghost Rider plus Drive Kidney Deficiency can barely defeat the source of life that Dormammu can't reach under the condition of using tricks. Although there are some discrepancies between the comics and the real situation, the strength of Dormammu can be seen from this. Dormammu's black mist has the terrible ability of decay, withering, and decay. Colin has to be careful when fighting with the opponent. If he is a little careless, he will be corroded and corrupted by the opponent's dark power. Boom boom boom. Colin holds Agamotto's divine spear in his right hand, and unleashes the eternal spear, which turns into a spear that bursts into the sky, sweeping and bursting like a violent storm. Wherever it passed, the dark black mist was wiped away, revealing some faint light. This is the eternal marksmanship that Odin used when he conquered the 9 realms. Dormammu's ferocious pupils contracted slightly. Thousands of years ago, when Dormammu invaded other dimensions of the 9 realms, he once fought against Odin at his peak. What he used at that time was this set of eternal marksmanship. However, the same marksmanship performed by Colin was even stronger than that of Odin. Be sublime. My abilities are not limited to magic. Colin raised his eyebrows and said calmly. It seems that I underestimated you. Under the general trend, this can't change anything. Dormammu narrowed his gloomy eyes, and there was malice and coldness in his sinister words. Along with the slow chanting of the incomprehensible sound of the spell, the faint green goblin fire in Dormammu's eyes jumped rapidly, flickering and flickering. The dark magic is roaring and surging uncomfortably, surging in the universe dimension. Immediately afterwards, the endless darkness seemed to have crossed the limitation of time and space, like an endless yawn that instantly enveloped Colin, as if he would be swallowed by the straight-tongued darkness in the utter darkness of the universe in the next 10 moments. Standing in this ancient darkness, Colin's body is gradually becoming transparent, about to turn into nothingness. Dark exile. Seeing his body gradually turning from solid to nothingness, Colin couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. Dormammu is the ruler of the dark dimension, and his scariest thing is that he draws darkness originally from energy and matter, turning the dark dimension into a veritable, dark dimension, one that is to say, it can swallow everything and even transform it into dark. It is for this reason that Dormammu is so eager to conquer multidimensional worlds and devour them in order to expand his domain. As if to confirm Colin's conjecture, a pair of invisible hands with sharp claws protruded from the dimensional crack, grabbed Colin, and then dragged him to the dark dimension. Colin's pupils shrank suddenly. If he is really dragged into the endless dark dimension, then he can only be at his mercy, and doomed. At the critical moment, Colin flicked the Lord of Reappearance ring on his right thumb without hesitation. Reappearance of the shining brilliance in The Lord of the Rings, and the reality and law suddenly intertwined. Boom. The next moment, Dormammu, who was about to succeed, suddenly froze. Under his unbelievably surprised eyes, the ancient darkness suddenly turned into countless broken bubbles and phantoms floating in the galaxy, as if nothing had happened generally. And Colin was able to break free from the black mist. How can it be? Dormammu let out a roar of shame and anger, and his hideous and terrifying face became more and more distorted due to anger. You must know that Dormammu was invincible with this trick before, but it was the first time he missed in front of a human who was as small as an ant, which made him feel an unprecedented sense of frustration. If you want to surrender, it's still too late. Colin said nonchalantly, glancing at the dimly reproduced Lord of the Rings. Recreating the Lord of the Rings can alter reality to a certain extent, but the consumption of mana is also equivalent to the difficulty of alter reality. Although he reversed Dormammu's fatal blow, correspondingly, the amount of power in the Lord of the Rings can be reproduced. The magic energy has also been exhausted, and the magic ring of the soul has little effect on Dormammu, an evil law god, so it is impossible to rely on these two magic rings. Gia, so that's the case. The unbelievable ability just now should have come from that ring. Now that the ring has lost its energy, you can only grab it with nothing. Dormammu said darkly. As the voice fell, Dormammu's body was surrounded by dark laws intertwined and surging. The demon's flame of endless darkness was compressed and condensed into a small ball in front of him. All the surrounding matter and energy were swallowed by the adsorbent, and finally turned into a black light ball with a diameter of 100 meters. Dark law is intertwined, decay is eroding everything around, and it contains the power to destroy the world. I can beat you without the ring. Colin's eyes are full of fighting spirit, and the holy mechanism is coming. I saw his hands changing endlessly like rolling wheels, the aura around his body soared crazily, the samsara eye of his left eye had a breathtaking ripple, and the pupil power was instantly activated to the extreme. With a thought, 667 black gravitational cores appeared out of thin air, floating in the void. Immediately afterwards, Colin clasped his hands together, and when the black ball rose to a certain height, it would generate a strong gravitational force, and within a few million miles, the ground of the low planet gradually cracked. Then a large number of meteorites with different file sizes are attracted to the gravitational core, and finally form a huge sphere with a diameter of hundreds of meters. Earthburst strengthening version. Colin's eyes shone brightly. This is his improved Earth explosion star. Not only can it seal and trap enemies, but it can also blast them out like Kongqing will not be hindered. With a low shout, Colin clasped his hands together and pressed down heavily. The giant meteorite condensed from the Earth explosion in the sky covered the sky and covered the sun. The ball went over. Boom. With the earth-shattering explosion, the meteorite giant ball and the black light ball collided fiercely like sparks hitting the Earth. The moment the two collided, the entire void of the universe was violently shaken, and the void where Colin and Dormammu were located was also broken and shattered inch by inch. At the center of the explosion, a terrifying world-ending storm surged in all directions, crazily raging and sweeping, destroying everything around. Several smaller celestial bodies in the vicinity exploded directly, turning into dilapidated fragments and dust and filling the vast universe. Even Tony, Thor, Faith, and Silver Surfer, who were fighting fiercely at the side, were shaken violently by the storm and almost flew away. As for the Earth, it was naturally affected a lot, but fortunately, the distance was far away, and there were defense systems activated by S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Hexagon building in advance, so the impact was minimized. This appalling scene can be called shocking and earth-shattering. Colin and Dormammu, who were in the very center of the explosion, the space they were in was collapsing inch by inch, and the void was in turmoil. I saw that Colin's long hair was a little messy, the outermost layer of Susano had almost collapsed, and the Leo Saint cloth was also damaged to a certain extent, but it was not serious. On the other hand, the fire in Dormammu's eyes dimmed a little, flickering, and even the mist covering his whole body subsided a little. Guy, although your realm is the peak of the Heavenly Father realm, you have incomparably mysterious methods and secret skills blessings. In terms of combat power, you have already entered the level single universe. What a profound background you still have. Feeling the reduction of the Dark Law, a look of fear flashed in Dormammu's eyes, and he roared angrily at Colin. In the thousands of years before this, he had conquered different dimensions countless times, and each time he was successful, but it was the first time he suffered such a great sense of frustration on Earth, even worse than Ancient One Mage. More than anything. I have said long ago that it is not a wise choice for you to come here. Colin twitched the corners of his mouth, showing a bit of teasing. But your teammates don't seem to be so lucky. Dormammu's sly eyes rolled, and suddenly he sneered sinisterly. Following Dormammu's gaze, Colin frowned slightly. If Colin and Dormammu can barely fight evenly, then Iron Man and Thor on the other side are not so happy. In front of the Silver Surfer, Iron Man's ability can't be used at all. Both the pulsed energy beams and laser cannons emitted will be absorbed by the surfboard at the Silver Surfer's feet. After the Silver Surfer's speed was pushed to the extreme, his streamer was as fast as the speed of light, enough to leave all the homing missiles and nano missiles behind. As for Thor, he has a body of steel and iron and the power to control the thunder. But what a treacherous person Death God Mo Faith is, he avoided confrontation with Thor, and instead released the ghosts and monsters in the realm of hell to entangle Thor, trapping him in the ghost realm. And Faith's main body is swimming like a poisonous snake, peeping at Thor's actions, waiting for the opportunity to move. Although Iron Man and Thor are the second of the three major forces in the Avengers Alliance, their strength should not be underestimated, but under the circumstances of the disparity in strength, they are also at an absolute disadvantage. Colin really wanted to help out, but he was locked on by Dormammu's aura, so he was unable to perform duplication. With the passage of time, Iron Man and Thor have been gradually exhausted, and Iron Man's Mark 43 armor has been damaged in many places, and the sizzling arc flicker stored in the armor. Energy is almost exhausted. The situation of Thor is also not optimistic. Half of Thor's battle armor is soaked in blood, and he is surrounded by extremely strange ghosts and monsters. Even if Colin offered a helping hand secretly and put a magic shield on the two of them, it still didn't help. Bang bang. Accompanied by two muffled groans, Iron Man and Thor could no longer sustain themselves, fell down from the starry sky, and fell towards the atmosphere. While falling, Tony stared at Colin apologetically, as if he felt guilty for not being able to help. Leave it all to me. Facing the guilty gazes of Tony and Thor, Colin raised his eyebrows and said calmly. In a blink of an eye, only Colin and the three-level universes on the opposite side were left in the starry sky battlefield. Gia, now your two assistants have already lost the battle, and you alone can't stand alone, there is no chance of winning. Dormammu couldn't restrain the secret joy in his heart, and the unscrupulous laughter resounded through the universe. Hey, I can't wait to try what the soul of this strong human being tastes like. Moto Faith licked his slightly dry lips, and the eerie scarlet color was revealed in the long and narrow demon eyes. At this moment, the Silver Surfer, who had defeated Iron Man, was not aggressive, but stepped aside, standing in a corner of the starry sky, with his hands wrapped around his body, as if he were a bystander. Silver Man, what do you mean? Moto Faith asked with a look of astonishment. I don't do things that take advantage of others' danger. Even if you win 3 against 1, you won't win by force. Silver Surfer said with a blank face. Seeing this, Colin couldn't help thinking. Having said that, the Silver Surfer is also a tragic character in the original book. Norrin Ladd was originally a resident of the extraterrestrial Zenla. In order to save his planet from being swallowed by the planet Devourer, he volunteered to become his subordinate forever. The Devourer of the planet gave him cosmic energy. The moment Norlin came into contact with this power, a silver shell was formed all over his body, and his memory, good and evil, and moral values disappeared. As the envoy of the planet Devourer, his mission is to find planets in the universe for its master planet Devourer to eat. Although the Silver Surfer has been erased of memory and good and evil, but in the deepest part of his heart, he still retains a trace of conscience, so that under such circumstances he will not do things that take advantage of others. In the original book, Silver Surfer even chooses to die together with the planet Devourer, which shows that his soul also has a noble side. Colin thought about this, and couldn't help but look at Silver Surfer with admiration. But even if Silver Surfer retreated to the side, there were two-level universes, Dormammu and Mo Faith, facing him, and there was still a disparity in strength. 2 flowers bloom, each representing a branch. Avengers Alliance Base. Hawkeye and Black Widow saw the fall of Tony and Thor through satellite detectors, and quickly coordinated various departments to launch a rescue. Hexagonal building. When Colonel Rhodes saw his friends Tony and Thor falling from the high atmosphere, he could not help but put on the War Machine armor and soared into the sky, turning into a silver light and rushing to the rescue. Just in case, Minister of National Defense Fred also sent more pacifist PX fighters to the rescue. Even Fred and Colin had grievances, but at this moment, he also deeply realized that the Avengers Alliance was an important force they had to rely on. At this time of life and death, their hopes are all pinned on Colin. SHIELD. Nick Fury ordered his men to turn on the defense system, watching the scene in the starry sky battlefield through the satellite detection screen with a solemn face, and at the same time transmit this real-time south face to all parts of the world. New York to Holy Place. With the help of Stephen Hulk, the magic apprentices such as Ancient One Mage and Baron Mordo were able to resist the impact of the fanatics headed by Caecilius. Ancient One Mage's star-like eyes pierced through the infinite space, closely watching the starry sky battlefield. His complexion changed from cloudy to cloudy, and he looked thoughtful. In the courtyard of a Manhattan Ocean View villa, Jean Grey and Susan both looked worried, with their hands clasped in front of them, praying for Colin nervously. Xavier's school. Professor X is placed in a brainwave strengthening machine, which activates psychokinesis and communicates with mutants all over the world. As a member of Blue Star, Professor X naturally couldn't stay out of the matter. While he placed his hopes on Colin, he also had to make other preparations. He began to organize mutants from all over the world to stand up at critical moments, and was always ready to fight with Colin. The invaders of the three-level universes fight to the death. At the same time, catastrophic phenomena occur from time to time in various regions of the Earth. In the extreme environment, panic spread among the crowd. But there are also many people looking forward to Colin, waiting for a miracle to happen, just like what happened in New York a year ago. In the starry sky battlefield, the contest between Colin and the three-level universes has touched the hearts of countless people. Now that Iron Man and Lei Shendu have been defeated, the recovered Zhao Lian's strength in the three major battles can only be determined by Colin in the end. He is the light of the Blue Star, he is our last hope. It is difficult for Colin to fight against three different dimensional monsters that can destroy the world with one person. But if even Colin is defeated, then the entire Blue Star will also fall completely, and the consequences are simply unimaginable. Woo! I don't want to die. I don't want to become a ghost under the iron heels of these cosmic invaders. Colin, please, definitely. Now we can only expect Colin to turn the situation around. If a miracle ever happened, it must have been made by Colin. Kay-Lin has always been good at hiding his cards, so he should still have a backhand. In the starry sky battlefield, Colin stood motionless in the void. At this moment, his mind surged rapidly, and thousands of methods flashed through his mind like a slideshow. After weighing it over and over again, the only one that has a chance of winning is that one method. Thinking of this, Colin made up his mind, and a flash of determination flashed in his eyes. Colin naturally has a backhand, but it also depends on the use and timing of the backhand. Success or failure is here. In the starry sky battlefield thousands of miles away from Blue Star. Dormammu and Faith were somewhat puzzled and contemptuous of the Silver Surfer watching. TCH, it seems that the envoy of the planet Devourer is really a noble person. If so, then let us end all of this. Dormammu sneered sinisterly. Even the Dark Law in the dark dimension behind him was about to move. Hey, you come to devour the bodies of hundreds of millions of creatures on the earth. As for their souls, I will harvest them. There is a lack of rotten souls in my hell realm. Moto Faith licked his dry lips, his long and narrow eyes glanced at the blue planet behind Colin, full of greed. The Dark Lord and the Hell Demon hit it off, and even began to fantasize about what it would be like to erode the earth. HMPH, the outcome is still undecided, so you guys are too happy too soon. Colin stood motionless in the starry sky like a mountain, showing no intention of retreating. As soon as the words fell, the Lord of the Rings on Colin's left thumb flashed with splendor, and then, a ray of the god's telekinesis burst out from it and returned to the earth. At the same time, Colin crushed the life card in his right hand, turning into dots of bright fluorescent light and dissipating in the galaxy. Shua Shua. In the next moment, a flame-flowing portal appeared on the left side of Colin, and a mage with a hood on his head and a mage robe stepped out of it. As for Colin's right side, there is a gorgeous seven-colored rainbow light shining down, a majestic king of God's domain, holding the eternal spear, straddling the eight-legged divine steed. In the blink of an eye, there were two more powerful men in the Heavenly Father realm beside Colin. Supreme Mage Ancient One. The King of God Odin. Colin has practiced in Kamar Taj for 10 years, and he has the name of mentor and apprentice with Ancient One. The god's telekinesis he just issued is to communicate with Ancient One through the air. The life card that Colin just gave was given by God King Odin as a thank you. It contains a ray of Odin's soul, which can be quickly summoned after being crushed at a critical moment. Therefore, Colin was able to summon two Heavenly Father gods to help out in an instant. Taking advantage of this gap, Colin is also using the golden holy clothes to transform the rays of the sun pouring into it into his own energy, repairing the holy clothes, and getting ready to go. Ancient One, Odin. Dormammu's pupils shrank slightly, and there was a hint of surprise in Yuhuo's lively evil eyes. Could it be that this is what Colin left behind? What kind of identity is the strong human being in front of him, that he can summon the Supreme Mage Ancient One and the King of God Odin to help out at the same time? This is too incredible, even the 5 creation gods may not have such a great call power. Dormammu, Mo Faith, Silver Surfer, please stop. This is the Earth, not the dimensional domains you have invaded in the past, let alone the barren and barren areas like Hegu number 7, Betelgeuse 3, and Janu no. It is a planet BFCI that can be swallowed. Ancient One Mage spoke righteously. Her eyes were as deep as the reflection of a lake of stars, and her whole body was filled with a spirit of immortality. Odin held the spear of eternity and slammed a pillar in the void, and warned with a stern voice. Yes, Midgard and the 9 realms share weal and woe, and form a tree of life system of their own. If anyone has evil thoughts in their hearts, they will only suffer for themselves. Ancient One and Odin. One is the Asgardian of the earth, and the other is the Asgardian of the 9 realms. They will not stand idly by when the earth is invaded. If the risk of the Loki and Chitaurus invasion of New York a year ago was manageable, then this time it can really be called a thrilling catastrophe. If you don't make a move at this time, when will you wait? HMPH, so what if there are 2 more level godfathers? Don't forget, there are 3 level single universes here, and there are also our internal agents in the earth. Mo Faith curled his lips and said disapprovingly. Hearing what Faith said, Dormammu also narrowed his eyes, and said mockingly, Gia, I was almost bluffed by you. Ancient One, Odin has to admit that you were also the strongest in the world at your peak. It's a pity that you are flesh and blood after all. Even the people of Asgard, who are the gods, have a lifespan of only 5,000 years. Time passes quickly, and once you pass the peak period, it means decline and decline. Now one of you is exhausted, and the other is very old. What can such a level godfather do? Could it be possible to rely on Colin, the peak of the Heavenly Father? Seeing this, Ancient One and Odin looked at each other, and they both saw the worry in each other's eyes. It has to be said that this was indeed a battle of great disparity in strength, but Ancient One and Odin still chose to trust Colin unswervingly. The reason why Colin summoned them must have his intentions, and perhaps this implies victory key. As if to confirm the conjecture in their hearts, at the moment Colin also sent a message of the god's telekinesis to the 2 of them. The latter was heartbroken when he heard the words, and kept what Colin said in his heart. If you want to fight, then fight. What are you doing with so much nonsense? Is it because you are afraid? With a sharp cry, the Leo Saint cloth on Colin's body burst into bright and dazzling golden light, reflecting the dark and gloomy universe in a golden color, exuding a powerful aura of the Holy Spirit. Between the vibrations of his arms, Colin unleashed the power of the speed of light fist, and immediately shot out hundreds of millions of speed of light punches like a net, blasting out through the air, which was also mixed with the deafening roar of dragons and tigers. Ancient One Mage's 10 fingers changed like flying, and 2 cytoric magic chains were condensed in the magic halo in the palm of his hand, whipping out like 2 domineering and fierce horses. Odin straddles the 8-legged steed and charges bravely with the Spear of Eternity. The powerful Odin's divine power is wrapped in the gunlight all over the sky, sweeping and bursting like a surging wave of the galaxy. Seeing this astonishing scene, the Silver Surfer, who had been watching from the sidelines, changed his expression and joined the battle group with Dormammu and Faith. Boom boom boom. In the starry sky, the five-colored divine rainbow swallowed, roared and cracked one after another. As Dormammu said, even though Colin is extremely powerful, Ancient One and Odin have passed their peak period and have long since lost their previous power. So even if the three great gods join forces, it will be difficult to defeat the three-level universes of Dormammu, Mo-Faith, and Silver Surfer for a while. As time goes by, Colin is getting more and more motivated to fight, because he has gradually reached the 1000th winning rate. Now everything is ready, only the final word is left. Colin, New York to Holy Place is about to fall, and the protective shield of the multidimensional world can't last long. At the moment, Ancient One Mage said to Colin Tranchant. With the departure of Ancient One, New York to Holy Place can hardly resist the attack of fanatics headed by Caecilius with only Hulk, Stephen Baron Mordo, and is about to fall, so this battle needs to be resolved as soon as possible. Since this is the case, it's time to use that secret skill. When Colin heard this, a flash of determination flashed in his eyes, as if he had made an important decision. Among the Earth, the Avengers Alliance base, the Hexagon building, S.H.I.E.L.D., Xavier's school, Kamar Taj, etc., and even the creatures in the Nine Realms are all concerned about this life and death battle. At the same time, countless people gathered on Times Square, watching the scene in the starry sky battlefield through the large screen on the restored curtain wall. Countless people are praying silently. After all, as the most solid line of defense to protect the Earth, if the three gods Colin, Ancient One and Odin are all defeated, then the entire Earth will be completely fallen, and catastrophe will be inevitable. Seeing the three great gods gradually declining, many people's hearts sank and they hid their faces and dared not look at them. Look, what is that? Just when everyone was feeling desperate, an exclamation suddenly erupted from the crowd. Looking in the direction the man pointed, everyone showed inexplicable surprise. Through the huge screen, I saw that Colin, Ancient One and Odin exchanged glances with each other and formed an array in tacit understanding, as if they were going to perform some kind of unknown magic trick. Among the stars, Colin, Ancient One and Odin conjured up a duplication at the same time to delay time. As for their bodies, they formed a certain array in a tacit understanding with each other. I saw Ancient One and Odin lined up on both sides with solemn expressions. Ancient One turned his body sideways, his right hand spread out obliquely forward to the left, and the 5 fingers of his left hand were slightly bent like eagle claws. Odin also turned his body sideways, his left hand spread out obliquely forward to the right, and his right hand was slightly bent like an eagle's claw. As the core of the battle formation, Colin occupies the C position in the middle. He half kneels on the ground, his arms stretched forward, and his fingers are spread apart, pointing straight ahead like a bursting calyx. The three formed a battle formation barrier, infusing the sacred cosmic psionic energy, Vishanti magic, and Odin divine power respectively, presenting a posture of the Trinity. Under the infusion of energy, a condensed and sacred small universe condensed in Colin's palm, shining with a soul-stirring aura. At the same time, the momentum in their bodies also began to skyrocket, and an incomparably terrifying coercion immediately spread. On the other side, under the joint attack of Dormammu, Moto and Silver Surfer, the three duplications broke apart within a short period of time. Gia Gia, you should give up resistance. Dormammu snorted coldly, then turned to look at the real bodies of Colin and the others. However, at the next moment, the complexions of the three-level universes including Dormammu suddenly froze. Only then did the three-level universes realize the secret battle formation that Colin and others have formed. What kind of formation is this? It has a taboo and ominous atmosphere. Could it be that this is Colin's real trump card? Witnessing this mysterious battle formation, Dormammu couldn't help swallowing deeply, and suddenly a strong ominous feeling rose in his heart. As the Lord of the Dark Dimension, Dormammu has also seen many rituals and formations. Among other things, when the fanatics headed by Caecilius summoned him, they were performing some kind of evil forbidden ritual. With Colin as the core, the divine powers of these three people seem to be integrated into one, and they are still multiplying geometrically. Mo-Faith's pupils shrank violently, like needle points, and even a trace of uneasy heart palpitations arose in the depths of his soul, and even the ghosts and monsters lingering around him were terrified. Never stop fighting. It's unbelievable. I've only seen such a powerful aura on the master planet Devourer. What's even more frightening is that it's still climbing crazily. Even the Silver Shadow Man's eyes revealed a look of shock and disbelief. Facing that overwhelming coercion, the silver heart in his body seemed to be grasped by a pair of invisible hands, and it was difficult to even breathe. At the moment, Dormammu, Mo Faith, and Silver Surfer were all frozen in place, gasping for air. They looked at each other, seeing surprise and fear in each other's eyes. Prepare to be judged. What you are about to suffer is the most powerful blow of the Trinity, representing the strongest mystery of the zodiac sign of Fixed Star. Standing at the core of the battle formation, Colin's eyes are shining, his beard and hair are all stretched out, and his words are full of unparalleled arrogance and courage. The trump card that Colin holds in his hands is nothing else, it is the ultimate mystery of the Saint Fighter, the shadow warfare method he has learned from the Leo Saint Cloth and the inheritance of Iolia, Athena's wonder. Athena's surprise is a move in which the three Golden Saints concentrate their ultimate small universes to attack at one point. It is also called shadow warfare. In the original work of Saint Seiya, in the Shaluo Double Tree Garden, Gemini Saga, Aquarius Camus, and Capricornus Shura used Athena's exclamation to break Shaka's largest profound meaning, Tianwu Baolun, in an already desperate battle, Seven Senses. In Saint Warrior Hades myth LC, Sisyphus, Xian, and Regulus also used this trick to blast open the gate of the magic palace that can only be destroyed by the power of the Big Bang. It is also because of its amazing destructive power and power that it has been banned by Athena since the age of mythology. It is said that the user will be deprived of the name of Saint Seiya forever, and the soul will be branded as inferior to ghosts and animals forever. Do not turn over. Because Colin, Ancient One, and Odin are not real saints, they are naturally exempt from the punishment of soul branding. However, there are extremely harsh conditions for performing this secret skill, but fortunately, it has been improved with the blessing of the system. In addition, Master Colin is also inextricably linked with it. Colin, endowed with Iolia's inheritance, wears the Leo golden cloth, so he is naturally considered a half-gold saint. And the king of God Odin, if traced back to its source, belongs to the Norse mythology system, which is juxtaposed with the Greek mythology system of Saint Seiya. As for Ancient One, her Vishanti magic law is a soft white magic, which can switch energy attributes freely, which just plays the role of blending them. Furthermore, whether it is Colin, Odin or Ancient One, they all belong to the Nine Realms and belong to the framework of the World Tree of Life, and their energies can also be integrated. In view of these reasons, this made it possible for the three of them to perform this ultimate secret technique. Under the horrified gazes of the three-level universes and the breath-holding attention of the creatures from the nine worlds, Colin let out a yell, and the energy of the three gods including Colin was all stimulated to the extreme. The wonder of Athena. The wonder of Athena. The wonder of Athena. Accompanied by three simultaneous singing voices, the small universe in Colin's palm exploded in an instant. In the next moment, a terrifying destructive force that could rival the Big Bang poured out in an instant. Facing this horrific scene, no matter if it was Dormammu, Moto or Silver Surfer, they were all shocked and frightened to the point where they couldn't be more shocked, and there was only one thought in their heads: run. But no matter how fast they run, they can't escape from the range covered by the shadow tactics. Boom. Boom boom boom. Bang bang bang. In an instant, the void trembled, and the stars moved. When the small universe exploded, it burst into incomparably dazzling and eye-catching light, and the figures of the three-level universes were instantly engulfed by the blazing and dazzling light, and the entire dark and gloomy universe was reflected like daytime. Silver Surfer was involved in the explosion and disappeared without a trace. Amidst the mournful and unwilling wailing, Dormammu's body was completely shattered, and the last wisp of black mist was obliterated. Moto Faith also turned into nothingness together with the ghosts and monsters around him. At the same time, in the deep space of the universe thousands of light years away, there was an extremely mournful cry of death. The stars and meteorites along the way shattered into dust, and the trillion-degree high temperature evaporated everything within Fang Yuan's thousands of miles. The force field, electromagnetic force, and atmosphere in the entire void were instantly drained and completely collapsed. Shattered. Where the explosion affects, everything decays, withers, falls, breaks, and finally returns to silence. Only the three figures in the center hovered in the silent and dry galaxy under the support of a dragon. Among the Earth, defense systems all over the world are activated, doing their best to offset the impact of the explosion in the starry sky. Among the pictures projected by the detection satellite, countless screens were instantly occupied by extremely dazzling white light. Everyone's hearts were raised in their throats. A moment later, an unstoppable ecstasy erupted in an instant, sweeping the world. As the three gods headed by Colin cast Athena's exclamation, they also drew a terminator for this battle. Dormammu and Faith were all annihilated in this terrifying destructive force that rivaled the Big Bang. As for the Silver Surfer, he disappeared together with his silver surfboard without a trace. After releasing the ultimate secret of the Saint, the energy in the bodies of Colin, Ancient One, and Odin was also emptied in an instant, and their bodies fell uncontrollably into the endless starry abyss. At the critical moment, Colin chanted a spell with his hands flying like fingers, and summoned the extraordinary dragon of the Lord of the Rings with the last bit of strength in his body. Amid a resonant dragon chant, the extraordinary dragon's huge body like a great wall supported Colin and others, and then vibrated the meter-long double abacus and sword. It is worth mentioning that all the stars and meteorites within 10,000 miles of Fang Yuan turned into dust, the void collapsed, and many strange cosmic rays and bright starlight escaped from the void cracks. These dense cosmic rays and bright starlight seemed to be drawn by some kind of force. They hung down on Colin's body like a bird returning to its nest, and then suddenly sank into his body, silently transforming Colin's constitution and soul. This shocking war came to an end, but its influence spread throughout the entire universe. Among the Shield, Nick Fury and Hill and others breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that it was a wise decision to invite Colin to join the Avengers and even entrust the captaincy. It has to be said that this battle was really dangerous. The powerful blow of the three gods headed by Colin saved the whole Earth from this catastrophe, otherwise the consequences would be disastrous. At the same time, Nick Fury couldn't hide his shock. Compared with the New York War a year ago, Colin's strength and cultivation have skyrocketed, which is simply unbelievable. If the last level Godfather War was limited to Earth, then this time it was a level universe battle involving the 9 realms and even the entire Milky Way. Even though the 3 level universes joined forces, they still fell at Colin's feet. This makes one wonder, where is his limit? Xavier's school. The sweaty Professor X slowly took off the Cerebro on his head, and then slowly returned to his room with the support of Storm and Cyclops. The ultimate secret technique launched by Colin just now is still fresh in Professor X's memory, and a doubt has lingered in his heart for a long time. The secret technique comparable to the Big Bang can only be displayed by the powerful Venerable who has comprehended the law of heaven and earth. For example, Apocalypse, the ancestor of Mutant, may not have such an ability. Could it be that Colin is the god of Mutant more powerful than Apocalypse in Legendary? Otherwise, how to explain that Colin is endowed with several abilities and can defeat the terrifying power of the level universe? With the fall of Dormammu, the fanatics who were besieging Nuyo to Holy Place also changed their complexions suddenly and their hearts trembled. No. Master Dormammu is actually dead, how is this possible? Caecilius froze there, like a mourning concubine, and the 2 swords in his hands fell to the ground with a thud. Their only connection with Dormammu was cut off, and the dark belief imprinted in their souls also collapsed and destroyed. At the same time, the energy they drew from the dark dimension also completely collapsed. The fanatics headed by Caecilius immediately lost their fighting power, and were captured by Steve, Hulk, Baron Mordo and others who swarmed up. Looking up at the gorgeous fireworks disappearing in the universe, Johnny's heart skipped a beat. Crack. With the fall of Faith, the shackles that bound his soul were stripped and shattered, and there was a feeling of relief. The reason why Johnny became Ghost Rider is because he was bewitched by Mo Faith to sign the soul contract. Now that Faith is dead, although the contract still exists, the clauses in it have been invalidated, and the master-servant relationship between Faith and Ghost Rider has ceased to exist. Ghost Rider's soul is set free. Nidawi. Clang clang clang. From time to time in the interstellar smithy, There was the sound of hammering gold and iron, sparks splashed, and the furnace was hot. This is the Dwarf King who is building the Infinity Gauntlet in accordance with Thanos' will. Although it is just a glove, it must be able to bear the impact of 6 gemstones and integrate their power into one. This shows how difficult it is, even the most skilled blacksmith King Dwarf in the universe. It takes a lot of energy and time. At this moment, an extremely dazzling ray of light made the entire universe completely white, and even the sky above Nightaway was shrouded in this intense ray. Immediately afterwards, there was a boom and explosion, and the void shook. Seeing this, Thanos looked up at the strange scene, and couldn't help but frown. Purple's eyes showed a look of fear and surprise. It's really incredible power. Even the Infinity Gauntlet that has collected all 6 gems is no more powerful than that. He could feel that in this big explosion, the aura of 2-level universes disappeared in an instant, and the other one became very weak, dying, without a trace. And the source of this explosive force is Colin, who defeated his plot in the last New York War. After realizing this, the sense of urgency and crisis in Thanos' heart also intensified, and he couldn't help urging Dwarf once again to speed up the progress of forging the Infinity Gauntlet. Top of the galaxy. The planet Devourer, who was resting with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes. He sensed that in the distant solar system, the aura of Silver Surfer suddenly fell to the bottom, on the verge of disappearing. Gululu. There was a protest sound from the body of the planet Devourer. The hungry planet devourers had to find a nearby planet that could be devoured to satisfy their hunger. Field of Death. With the death of Faith Tor's chi, Death also wailed mournfully, Faith Tor, you are such a waste, that you were defeated by human beings. But I will never let you die in 5.3 in vain died. As one of the 5 creation gods, Death is the source, creator and manipulator of all life souls in the multi-universe. She represents the manifestation of all end-of-life concrete forms in the multi-universe, and is the creator and master of the Death God, Hades, Hell King, and Hell Lord in all mythological legendary. There are many subordinates of Death, including Hela, Nightmare, Duke of Mar, Blackheart, and Zatanos. However, the one who pays the most attention to Death is Faith. After all, he can give constant souls to the realm of Hell. And this is Death's favorite, and it is also the key for Death to master the termination of all life in the universe. The death of Modo Faith undoubtedly made Death lose a reliable right-hand man, which made Death fall into hatred and anger that he had never had before. In the quiet room, Colin sat cross-legged, exhaling and practicing. Immersing your mind and looking inside your body is a whole new scene. The original Colin had gold blood flowing in his body, and his roots were as crystal clear as uncut jade. But now Colin's blood is transparent, and the source of energy spirals around like a star halo, dotted with mottled starlight, like a vast and mysterious galaxy. 2 months have passed since that shocking battle. Since cosmic rays and starlight entered Colin's body, they have subtly changed his constitution. The original chi, chakra, and cosmic spiritual energy entrenched in the body interacted to form a new energy core star, force. During this period, Kaylin has been refining the star power in his body. With the refinement of star power, Colin's strength also became stronger constantly. Bits of star power converged into stars and starlight, and finally gradually pieced together into a surging galaxy, entrenched in Colin's body. Thanks to the unexpected harvest in that shocking battle, Colin's realm has also achieved a great leap forward, surpassing the peak of the Heavenly Father realm in one fell swoop, and promoted to the quasi-single universe level 15, which is far from the real level single universe. It's just a foot in the door. However, Ancient One and Odin, who performed Athena's wonder together with Kaylin, did not have such a great fortune. Any life will go through the process from weak to prosperous, and from prosperous to declining. They are already very old, and after years of baptism, and the consumption of huge amounts of the Trinity battle formation has accelerated their energy overdraft and weakening, and now it is gradually approaching the time when the oil is exhausted. So at this time, the Earth and even the entire 9 realms happened to be the emptiest time. Fortunately, Colin was young and far from reaching his prime. Moreover, that earth-shattering exclamation of Athena is enough to form a powerful deterrent to those who covet the 9 realms. Even those venerables with Tongtian methods are busy repairing the space-time and dimension gaps caused by the Big Bang at the moment, and have no time to take care of the 9 realms, so there will never be any more intruders in a short time. As the war came to an end, the 9 realms slowly returned to peace. Thor and Odin returned to Asgard together, and Odin's divine power had been exhausted, so it was necessary for Thor to guard the Aesir god realm to make up for the weakness of Emperor Shaunfali. The Ancient One returned to Kamar Taj, tried the traitor Caecilius in the name of Vishanti, and started looking for the successor of Supreme Mage. Shield and the Hexagon also summarized the incident. While praising and rewarding Avengers, they are also planning to establish a new organization to deal with interstellar mediation and disputes. In addition, the relationship between Xavier's school and Mutant Brotherhood has also become closer. Professor X and Magneto are also actively planning to merge Xavier's school and Mutant into a Mutant alliance, expand the overall power and influence, and become the most solid backing of the Mutant camp. Definitely, if you want to say who is the biggest winner, then there is no doubt that it is Colin. After this battle, Colin's influence and reputation are unprecedentedly high. If we say that in the previous battle in New York, Colin's starting point was more to protect his family's Stark company from too much loss. So this time Colin's shot, to a certain extent, is also for the Earth and even the entire 9 realms, sublimated to a new height, unknowingly became the savior who did his part. Whether it is the core of one of the 3 major powers of the Avengers Alliance or the core of one of the 3 gods, Colin firmly occupies the C position, constituting the most solid line of defense in this Star Wars. It can almost be said that conquer the 3-level universes with one person's power. The peak of the limelight is like the sun in the sky. At the same time, the series of data of the entire Stark Enterprise, and even the recently launched social application Superman APP, are also rising. The core element of Superman APP is superhero, and it is quite appropriate in the context of this big event. The Avengers headed by Colin have entered people's attention with a powerful attitude, the influence of superhero has been further expanded and enhanced, and Superman APP has also become the focus of the world's attention by chance. As Susan and Pepper, who are in charge of the project, they also keenly captured the opportunities and implemented a new operation strategy. This is an era when traffic is king, especially for social apps. As the most influential superheroes, Colin, Iron Man, and Thor Avengers Alliance are undoubtedly responsible for traffic popularity. They are the most famous heads. First of all, the operation department made a name around the 3 major heads, thus forming a large-scale advertising effect with huge amounts of advertising, and constantly attracting traffic. After attracting users and fans to this platform, the next focus is how to retain them. Naturally, enough exciting and high-quality content is needed to retain them. At this time, we must rely on the characteristics and charm of superheroes. For example, the funny Spider-Man, the graceful dancing Black Widow, Ghost Rider's superb and thrilling car stunt performance, the United States Captain Steve's fitness teaching and so on. As long as netizens click on the Superman APP, they can always find bright spots in these wonderful short videos and live broadcasts, so as to firmly attract their interest and focus. Next, it is to guide the interaction and communication between the 2 parties, close to the distance between superhero and common people, so as to truly transform them into loyal users and fans of Superman 523 app, so as to achieve progressive and interlocking, so that users really love the app. It has to be said that such an operation strategy is still immediate. Superman APP, relying on its own traffic hotspots and super high fan stickiness, has shown a rapid momentum. After 6 days, it has left a series of social applications behind and firmly ranked second in the App Store rankings. Seeing this situation, the Kusan app, which was firmly seated at the top, panicked. In order to distance itself from Superman APP, the Osborne Group has entered into a crazy money-spending mode, inviting top stars and superheroes to settle in. But at this moment, the drainage ability shown by the stars is far less than that of superheroes, and there are only so many superheroes in total, and more than half of them have been signed by Colin in advance. No matter how much money the Osborne Group spends, it is already irreversible. If Kusan app takes one wrong step, the whole game will be lost. On the other hand, Superman APP has been making great strides all the way. In less than a month, it has exceeded 1.8 billion total users, and its daily active users have exceeded 300 million. It has surpassed Osborne's Kusan app in one fell swoop, dominating the download list and popularity list. It has become a popular social application app all over the world, and it is still rising unabated. Under the influence of the right time, place and people, the popularity of Superman app is already unstoppable. Its popularity is not limited to the United States, or even popular all over the world. Whether it is downloads, popularity or sales, it has ushered in a period of skyrocketing, and both the number of users and the stickiness of fans have doubled. It can be called a rare phenomenon-level product over the years. Osborne Group. Norman Osborn was sitting on pins and needles in the office. The news about Superman app is coming one after another. Not only that, but also many traffic stars and superhero who originally opened accounts in Kusan app. It is not uncommon for them to switch to Superman app. Fake. These treacherous people didn't look like this when they signed the contract with money. What is the problem? Norman Osborn smashed the things on the desk, roared hysterically, and his whole face was distorted and gloomy to the extreme. Father, our defeat this time is not because of our mistakes, but because our opponent Colin Stark is too unpredictable. Harry. Osborn said comfortingly while swiping his phone. At this moment, he swiped the screen of his mobile phone and swiped the short video of Superman app. Although it is a competitor, it has to be said that the short video content in this app is still very exquisite and attractive, and even he himself is about to be addicted to it. Taking superhero as the theme is not just a gimmick, but a deeper level of connotation. Accurate positioning, good user experience, and shortening the distance between superhero and common people are all factors that make this app popular. Superman app is like a dark horse that was born out of the sky, quickly occupying a place in social applications, and swept the world with popularity, and its fans and influence have also increased. Even some of the traffic stars and superheroes that Osborne Group had previously signed turned their backs. In order to be able to settle on a larger platform to gain more fans, they even did not hesitate to spend the resulting breach of contract fees. This shows how successful Superman app is. To some extent, the series of operations of Kusan app even made a wedding dress for Superman app. So what should we do now? Norman Osborn is not very good at emerging social applications, but his son Harry Osborn is quite insightful, and he has always been in charge of the field of social applications, so Norman Osborn also needs to seek advice from the other party. At this time, we should stop throwing money into the Kusan app, but stop losses in time. Although we can't dominate the social application field like before, we can at least maintain a stable position and not lose. Then do as you say. Hearing what his son said, Norman Osborn also sighed helplessly. Although they don't want to admit it, they were finally defeated by Superman app in this battle of social apps, and the market that they had planned to monopolize before was also divided up by others. This is undoubtedly a challenge for the proud Norman Osborn. Kind of huge amounts of shame. However, the reason why Norman Osborn has been able to roam the shopping malls for so many years is because of his keen intuition and deep understanding of the city. As Harry said, it is time to shrink the line of defense in time. Stabilize the inherent users of Kusan app, and then seek development in the future. HMPH, Colin Stark, although you do have extraordinary talents, you also rely on the generous resources of Avengers to succeed in the Superman app project. I don't believe you can have such good luck every time. With his hands behind his back, Norman Osborn looked through the window at a towering K-shaped building in the distance, and said sinisterly. In Norman Osborn's view, the unprecedented success of Colin Stark's Superman app is largely due to the gold-lettered signboard of Avengers. If there is no appeal of this golden signboard, how can we sign so many superhero at one time? If there is no superhero, then the core theme of Superman app will become nonsense. This shows how important the role of the team is in the Marvel world. If I could emulate the Avengers and build a powerful villain organization or alliance, it would be a completely different ending. Everything I want would be within my reach, and I might be able to subvert the entire world, let alone a mere business world. Norman Osborn couldn't help thinking. Thinking of this, the corners of Norman's mouth curled up under his feet, and the narrow and long eyes showed endless fanaticism and greed. 29,996 inches. 29,997. 29,998. 29,999. In the supergravity room, Colin is practicing high-load push-ups. Let the sweat slide down from the cheeks dripping on the floor that is about to crack. During this period of time, apart from getting to know Susan and Jean Grey, Colin has devoted all his time to cultivation. With the absorption of cosmic rays, Colin's strength has also increased, and he is now able to move freely in an environment of 302 times the gravity, and even surpass the 300 times the gravity of the Super Saiyan. Now Colin's power is so strong that even without any help, he can smash half of the planet with his bare hands. If all means are used, the destructive power that will erupt is even more unimaginable. After completing 30,000 push-ups, Colin breathed a sigh of relief, then took a selfie of a muscular photo with his mobile phone and uploaded it to Superman app, with a note saying, "The 3961st day of exercise." After the status was updated, many fans rushed in to like and comment with the sound of notifications. Light of the Blue Star has finally updated its status. 10 years of training, Didi Zhao, like a day, OMG, this is really scary. If your younger brother Tony can have 1% of your constitution, he won't be hollowed out by wine and romance. My god, Bobby is acting very natural, give me 100 points. I'm curious how Mr. Colin trains to defeat a large-level universe by himself. Seeing this, Colin replied at the bottom, doing push-ups. Do push-ups, so simple. Definitely, the simplest thing done to the extreme is extraordinary. Mr. Colin, may I exercise with you in the future? Definitely it's fine, but the premise is that you can withstand 300 times your own gravity. Colin replied casually. Fan A. Fan B. Fan C. Gas. Doing the simple things to the extreme can achieve great things. Saitama in One Punch Superman is the best example. After practicing the simplest push-ups and running to the extreme, you will become a Superman with a punch. After Colin interacted with fans on the Superman app for a while, he put away his phone. At this moment, he was accompanied by two beauties, Susan and Jean Grey. Jean Grey was loosening Colin's muscles and bones, while Susan gently peeled off the skin of the grapes with her slender fingers, and then handed the pulp into Colin's mouth. Colin ate the tender and juicy grape pulp, and let Chingele massage evenly. He felt very comfortable and enjoyable all over his body. At this moment, the familiar system prompt sounded in my mind again. The aftermath of the 3 major level universe incidents has subsided, and Blue Star seems to have regained its previous calm. Facing such a situation, please make your choice. Option 1. Complete 10 random missions of Avengers. After completing the mission, you will be rewarded with 1,000 blades from the world of Assassin. Option 2. Acquire Hanmer Military Industry. The task is completed, and the reward is the Great Void Art from the Sugarcane World Worker. Choice 3113. Set off to explore the vast and boundless universe. The task is completed, and the reward is Dongwang Bell from the prehistoric world. When Colin heard the notification tone next to his ear, he couldn't help being slightly taken aback. This time the system was not triggered by a certain event, but took the initiative to give 3 different development directions, corresponding to Avengers Alliance, Business and Interstellar Exploration. The Magic Saber 1000 Blades is Assassin Achi's weapon. It can unleash powerful slashes and even split apart freely. It is cool and fancy, and it is an important reliance for Assassin Achi to be able to secure the top spot in the leaderboard. But bells and whistles aren't enough. This weapon can sweep thousands of troops in a low-power world, but in a world with super high power value like Marvel, it seems a bit tasteless, so this is not within the scope of Colin's consideration. As for the Great Void Art, it is unpredictable and extremely mysterious. When practiced to the extreme, it can travel through the void, but cannot capture figures. However, for a void technique like this, it is only in the original world that it can exert its greatest effect, and if it is moved to the Marvel world, it will be greatly weakened. In comparison, the Eastern Emperor Bell is still more attractive. After Pengu opened the sky, his left eye turned into a sun star, and Dongwang Tai embraced Chaos Bell, conceived out of the sun star, and renamed it Dongwang Bell. The Eastern Emperor Bell is the most powerful of the 10 great artifacts and one of the 3 innate treasures, capable of destroying the world and devouring the heavens. The Eastern Emperor Bell has infinite mysteries and infinite good fortune. It has the power to suppress chaos, reverse time and space, refine yin and yang, and reverse the universe. It can confine time, suppress space, and increase luck. In addition, it can also reflect the attack of any treasure magic weapon and ignore the damage of all magical spells. The attack and defense are integrated, and the top of the head is the first to be invincible. Definitely the most important thing is that the Dongwang Bell is originally a small world. In addition to storing a large number of items, it can also engrave the gods and rules that match the world in which it is located, so as to integrate into the original avenue of the world. In other words, as long as the corresponding god pattern is engraved, its function and power will not be affected whether it is in the prehistoric world or the Marvel world, is also an extremely rare supreme treasure. The condition for obtaining the reward of the Eastern Emperor Bell is to set off to explore the vast and boundless universe, which coincides with Colin's current thinking. Having said that, the system also gave a similar choice 10 years ago, that is to accompany Carol to the Star Field battlefield for training. The reason why Colin did not choose this option at the beginning was also because the time was not ripe. In the endless Marvel universe, the Earth is like a novice village. Even the novice BFCF village has not yet dominated, so going outside to brush advanced copies is not courting death. In order to quickly improve his own realm and accumulate experience, Colin chose to practice in Kamar Taj. Facts have proved that Colin's choice is wise. It was during these 10 years that Colin mastered most of Visandi's magic, and also achieved a huge breakthrough in Earth level and level Godfather, laying a solid foundation for future emergence. Sharpness has laid a solid foundation. Without those 10 years of practice, Colin would never have achieved what he is today. And now, Colin is already a quasi-level single universe, and the conditions in all aspects are gradually maturing, which is a great opportunity to explore the universe. The more peaceful the time, the more we must plan ahead. Let's just say that 3-level universes, Dormammu, Faith, and Silver Surfer, descended on the Earth not long ago. If Colin hadn't strategized, then it might have been another ending. This shows how important it is to strategize in the Marvel world. Leaving aside, let's just talk about the 2-level godfathers, Ancient One and Odin, who explored the depths of the universe without exception when they were young. When Ancient One Mage was young, he often traveled through the multi-universe, obtaining the truth of spells and supreme weapons from the great power of the Venerable, and even absorbed dark energy from the dark dimension. And Odin led Hela and the brave Asgard warrior to sweep the 9 realms and conquer the universe, thus gaining a series of spoils, such as life cards, Tesseract, Casket of Ancient Winters, Agamotto Crystal Ball, the Eternal Fire, etc. They are all treasures he scavenged from all over the universe. Although these are mostly their dark histories, it is undeniable that if they do not have experience in the universe, they cannot achieve their peak period. In the final analysis, the Earth is just a drop of water in the endless Wangyang, too small. The vast universe is the real center of the Marvel world. If you want to become stronger, you must go to the universe to explore and experience. Looking back at the first 2 options, if the first option is to complete the 10 missions of Avengers obediently, what is the difference between this and a puppet? The second option is even less interesting. According to Colin's current financial resources, he has basically reached the existence of an incomparable wealth. Blindly pursuing wealth has not aroused much interest for him, and Hanmer Military Industry is a manufacturer specializing in pirated arms, even if it is acquired significance. So Colin's choice is naturally self-evident. Thoughts were surging in his mind, and Colin quickly made up his mind. In the following time, Colin gradually handed over some of the company's affairs to Tony and Susan and other absolutely loyal confidants to take care of, and at the same time actively planned to explore Jianfeng. Definitely, there is one more thing waiting for Colin to deal with before the real world tour. A few days later, Colin, as the captain of the Avengers Alliance, summoned the members of the Avengers Alliance for action. Since the mission was triggered by the system, Colin has made up his mind to explore in the boundless universe, but before that, he still needs to clear up the troubles in the Earth. And this trouble is the Hydra organization that is elusive and has ulterior motives. With Avengers' series of actions against Hydra this year, Hydra has now been pinched 7 inches, like the end of a strong crossbow. The purpose of Colin's convening of the team members this time is to completely wipe out the grass and roots, and completely destroy Hydra, so that he can start the journey of the universe without any scruples. After careful investigation, Colin got information not long ago, and learned that the last headquarters of Hydra is located in the Aosta region of Italy, and that the headquarters of the head snake is also the target they want to attack. It is worth mentioning that, in order to prevent undercover agents from remaining inside S.H.I.E.L.D., Colin directly bypassed S.H.I.E.L.D.'s unilateral action this time. As for the funds for the operation, it is naturally funded by his Stark enterprise. This amount of funds is nothing more than a drop in the bucket for Stark, who is so wealthy, and even negligible, to an extraordinary significance. Since Thor returned to the Aesir domain with God King Odin 2 months ago, the superheroes assembled this time are Tony, Hawkeye, Captain America, Dr. Banner, Black Widow and Colin. In Colin's view, although this Avengers team is only an incomplete body composed of 6 people, it is more than enough to deal with this operation. Inside the base, after Colin deployed the mission and plan to the team members, the 10 pedestrians boarded 2 electric fighter jets and turned into 2 streamers and flew towards Europe. 2 hours later, the Quinjet fighter landed in the Aosta region of Italy. Kay-Lin and his group got out of the fighter plane, concealed their actions, and found the outer area of the target in a short while. What came into view was an intricate jungle. At the moment's Italy, it's winter in Italy. Looking around, the forest is covered with snow. From time to time, thick snow will break the branches and fall down. Occasionally, there will be deer or other beast in the jungle, skimming. In the seemingly quiet jungle, it is heavily guarded and full of murderous intentions. Please remember, our mission this time is to completely wipe out the Hydra organization. We must not have the slightest sympathy for our enemies, and we must not let any enemy go, especially the high-level Hydra hidden in the castle. After gesturing on the spread topographic map, Colin glanced at the crowd solemnly, his words carrying undeniable majesty. I can't wait to kill these enemies. Hawkeye clenched the telescopic compound bow in his hand, and said eagerly. For the past 2 months, the Avengers Alliance has been almost in a semi-dormant state, which made Colin, who is used to the fighting career, very uncomfortable, and now he is eager to try. Steve and Black Widow also exchanged glances, and a sharp and determined look flashed in the eyes. Hulk, it's time for you to show your skills. As for Dr. Banner, he beat his chest twice, awakening the sleeping Hulk, who was reconnected by the gentle doctor and turned into a sturdy and rational master. Tony, you just need to take it easy as you recover from your serious injury. Colin turned his head to look at Tony, then patted his shoulder and said. Last time, as one of the 3 major powers of the Avengers Alliance, Tony also joined Kay-Lin Yi to face the 3 major level universes, but Tony was also injured because of this. Although he recovered from the serious injury, he was still not suitable for fierce battles. It's okay, I've been lying down for more than 2 months, and it's time to come out and exercise my muscles. Tony smiled slightly. Seeing this, Colin nodded and didn't say much. He waved his hand, and the other 5 players disappeared into the jungle immediately. Hey, Hulk is attacking. With a roar, the Green Titan plunged into the jungle like a human chariot, broke through the periphery like a bamboo, and then drove straight into the depths of the jungle. The task of the Green Titan is to attract firepower and act as a meat tank. Tud chug. Sure enough, with the appearance of the Green Titan, dense bullets fired from the corners of the jungle, the analysis of the woods, and even the natural bunkers built by rocks, covering them in a dense hail of bullets. However, the defense power of the Green Titan is strong enough to withstand the attacks of these small and medium caliber thermal weapons. Shua. Hawkeye jumped to the top of the tree with agility, climbed high and looked far away, scouted the surrounding enemy situation, and marked the firepower points he had mastered, and then notified his teammates through the internal communicator. At the same time, Steve and Black Widow carried out targeted hunting according to the firepower points marked by Hawkeye. They were like 2 sharp and strange steel knives, directly entering the enemy's interior to harvest the heads. As for Tony, he is wearing Mark 44 battle armor, hovering above the jungle like a steel god of war, firmly occupying the air supremacy, and if any Hydras slip through the net to take the lead or escape, he will not hesitate. Give it a killing blow. The 5 people cooperated seamlessly, showing a super high tacit understanding value and combat effectiveness. From probing, detection to assassination, breaking them down one by one, the whole process can be said to be done in one go. In this way, the 5 people passed through the jungle in a desperate manner, and came to the core area of the jungle, that is, gathered in the castle of Hydra headquarters. Call out. The next moment, a magical portal with flames flowing appeared out of thin air, and Colin, who was directing all this behind the scenes, appeared beside them directly across the entire jungle. Colin glanced at the scarlet blood stained in the vibranium shield in Steve's hand, and couldn't help jokingly said, "Steve, I didn't expect that you, who showed 10 weights in a majestic and upright image, would have such a fierce and violent side." Steve said with burning eyes, "I'm not going to show any kindness to these Red Skull's zealots." Seeing this, Colin couldn't help but slightly nodded. Steve is not a good old man without personal feelings. While he upholds kindness and justice, he is also jealous of evil, especially for these fans of Red Skull. Hate, because he has personally witnessed how terrifying an evil Hydra led by Red Skull is, so he spared no effort in dealing with such a terrorist organization. Colin calmed down his messy thoughts, and immediately began to look at the castle in front of him. The castle in front of me looks nothing special from the outside, simple and elegant, showing a bit of medieval architectural style, but this cannot conceal the fact that this is the headquarters of Hydra, and the leader of Hydra, Baron Citric, should be hiding here in a castle. Having said that, although Colin has mastered the topography of the nearby jungle in advance, he does not know the internal structure and layout of the castle. With his hands behind his back, Colin swept his eyes as sharp as a falcon, and immediately found a figure lurking between the heavy firepower points on the wall. "Hawkeye is yours." Colin raised his chin at Hawkeye and said. Hawkeye nodded, immediately drew his bow and shot an arrow. "Call out." With the sharp sound of piercing through the air, a barbed arrow immediately shot out, 873, hitting the Dark Whistle's arm with incomparable precision. Immediately afterwards, Hawkeye slammed the nanoscale silk thread tied to the barb arrow, and the barb arrow dragged the secret whistle backwards and fell to the ground. Hiss. In the painful Shenyan sound, Anshao's hand covered his bleeding arm, and he curled up weakly on the ground. With a thought in Colin's mind, the powerful the god's telekinesis instantly invaded the opponent's cerebral cortex, searching for the information he wanted from the opponent's memory. After a long while, Colin slowly retracted the god's telekinesis, and seeing that the secret whistle had already lost his eyes, he had turned into a complete dementia. Let's go and see what secrets are hidden in the Hydra headquarters that have been fighting against S.H.I.E.L.D. for half a century. Colin's pupils narrowed slightly, and he took the lead to walk into the castle, and then followed closely after looking at each other with Steve and others. The corridors and wastes of this ancient castle are complicated and intertwined like a maze. It is easy for people who come here to get lost for the first time. However, Colin has long been familiar with the terrain and structure here, so he can lead the rest of the team. Go through the corridor and go straight to the underground secret room along a secret passage ladder. Shish. The closer they got to the basement, the more Hydra soldiers popped up. They crazily pulled the triggers of their guns, and fought against Kaylin and his party like brave warriors. But these people were already at the end of their strength. Wani, Steve and others subdued them after a fight. Hydra hail. For Hydra. After the subdued Hydra soldiers yelled hysterically, they took poison one after another and committed suicide. These people are really brainwashed. Seeing this situation, everyone couldn't help but shook their heads regretfully. These Hydra bosses are really powerful. Among other things, they are really good at bewitching and brainwashing people, and they can even make people sacrifice their lives in such a way. This kind of extreme brainwashing is really too much horror. After exhaustively cleaning up these soldiers, Kaylin and his party finally passed through the secret passage and came to a secret chamber. Friday, check the material of this door. Drip. The inspection is complete. This door is made of titanium alloy mixed with black granite. It is extremely strong. Tony rubbed the surface of the door with a steel glove, and came to a conclusion after the artificial intelligence Friday's detection and analysis. Hulk, use your powerful destructive power. Colin said to Hulk with a raised brow. Hulk's expression froze, and he shook his arms, gathered all his strength, and slammed his shoulders against the titanium gold black gate like a humanoid demolition machine. Boom boom boom. With the deafening crash, the entire titanium gold-black gate was shaking violently and shattered down. The next moment, the door collapsed, raising billows of dust. Steve shook the vibranium shield twice, brushed away the thick smoke, and entered the dark secret room cautiously with the rest of the team. There is an ambush. Colin's powerful the god's telekinesis instantly enveloped the entire secret room, and suddenly he perceived two strong auras entrenched in it, and his pupils shrank slightly. Shua. The next moment, I saw an afterimage that was as fast as lightning flashing past, rushing towards it in an instant. On the other side, a group of scarlet mist rose suddenly, whistling with a sharp blade glow. In the blink of an eye, Kei Lin Fei quickly flicked the magic ring on his left thumb, and a tyrannical psychokinesis instantly activated. Patter. With the crisp sound one after another, Tien Duo lost control of the sharp knife and fell to the ground with a crackling sound. At the same time, a fist swinging towards Steve also stopped abruptly, and the fist was only a short distance away from Steve. Everyone is watching. The owner of the fist is a young man with golden hair, and the other person who controls more than a dozen sharp knives is a beautiful woman with a sculpted face and wavy curly hair. Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch. Colin narrowed his eyes and couldn't help but secretly said in his heart. He recognized the identities of these two people almost at a glance, and it seems that they should already have the elementary super speed movement and origin magic power. But at the same time, a trace of doubt arose in Colin's heart. You know, in the original book, Quicksilver and Wanda are human experimenters researched by Hydra based on Mind Gem and Chidori technology. But a year ago during the Battle of New York, Colin had already taken Mind Gem from Hydra. If so, what happened to Quicksilver and Wanda in front of him? How did Hydra endow them with supernatural powers? This doubt lingered in Colin's mind immediately. But right now he didn't have time to think too much, because what was hidden in the corner behind these two people was the instigator of all this, the leader of Hydra, Baron Citric. Baron Stryker of at the moment, his tense expression is full of madness, corruption, ambition and unwillingness. 4.7, and in the eyes of everyone, he quickly raised his gun in his hand and was about to kill himself. Want to die? It's not that simple. Seeing this situation, Tony shot out a sound wave from his palm, paralyzing Baron Citric's body. Black Widow at the side quickly approached a pistol that snatched Baron Citric away, and Hawkeye also took the opportunity to tie him up. Search the entire Hydra headquarters, don't miss any corner, and act separately. After Colin coldly glanced at Baron Citric, who had attempted suicide, he gave orders to the other team members. As soon as this statement came out, Tony, Steve, Hulk and others split up and searched the Hydra headquarters carefully. After a while, it turned out that Steve found the frozen Bucky in a freezer not far from here. Bucky. When Steve saw Bucky frozen in the freezer, his expression changed slightly. He is only temporarily frozen, and after thawing, he can return to normal vital signs, just like you wake up from the ice in the Atlantic Ocean. Dr. Banner, who has returned to normal, explained to Steve that Banner is a well-known PhD in biology and physics, and he calmly analyzes from a professional perspective. Hearing this, Steve felt at ease, and carefully carried Bucky onto the Quinjet fighter, ready to take him back to the Avengers Alliance base to thaw out. At the same time, Tony also had an unexpected harvest. He searched a lot of confidential information about Hydra in the computer room of the ancient castle, and even recorded the undercover information of Hydra lurking in S.H.I.E.L.D. Tony handed over the control of the Mark 44 armor to Friday and turned on the alert mode, while he himself walked to the computer, connected the Super U disk to it, and copied all the data in the computer room. After finishing all this, Colin asked his teammates to put the restrained Wanda, Quicksilver and Baron Citric into the Quinjet fighter. At the same time, he flicked the Sunflame magic ring on his left index finger. Between the red scorching light, a huge amounts of fireball was released. Crackling. The fireball rose against the wind, and the raging flame instantly engulfed the castle in front of him, and the entire headquarters of Hydra was burned. The wreckage of the ruined castle withdrew its gaze. Colin immediately boarded the Quinjet fighter jet, and returned to the joint base with more than 15 members. All in all, the Avengers, operation under Colin's command has achieved considerable results. Destroyed Hydra headquarters. Captured the leader of Hydra, Baron Citric. Take control of Quicksilver and Wanda and save Bucky. At the same time, a large amount of confidential information was obtained from within Hydra, coupled with the clues Colin obtained from the memory of Baron Citric, and finally included a complete Hydra undercover list. Colin handed over the Hydra undercover list to Nick Fury. Soon, Nick Fury followed the clues and rooted out the Hydra undercover hidden in S.H.I.E.L.D. This also means that the generation of terrorist organizations that were once daunting have been completely wiped out so far. It was also because of the fruitful results of this operation that Nick Fury did not pursue Colin's responsibility for bypassing S.H.I.E.L.D.'s unilateral actions, or in other words, with Colin's current reputation, he was also powerless to pursue it. In the base medical room, members of the Avengers Alliance gathered around a hospital bed. Steve stared at the comatose Bucky, fidgeting nervously, looking anxious. Under the treatment of the team Dr. Hailun Zhao, Bucky was released from the freeze and slowly came to life. It is worth mentioning that when Helen Zhao thawed Bucky, he also used the neuron discharge function of the Cerebro Master Brain System to restore his previous memories. Bucky. Steve and Bucky hugged each other and wept, speechless for a while. After a long while, Steve looked at the little friend in front of him again, and asked, "Bucky, ever since you fell into the glacier cliff during the operation against Dr. Zola, I thought you had left me forever." During World War II, during an assault mission against Dr. Zola with Steve, Bucky was knocked out of a high-speed train by an enemy bomb and fell into a cliff of a glacier. So far, everyone thought Bucky was dead, and Steve was also for a time lost. Unexpectedly, his good brother Bucky is still alive, which is nothing more than a huge amounts of surprise. Bucky also took a deep look at Steve, and explained with a sigh, "Since I fell into the deep valley, I was captured by the Hydra organization. Later, Zola transformed me and implanted mind in my brain. The controller cleared my previous memories and brainwashed me, making me an important murder weapon of the Hydra organization, Winter Warrior. Then why are you frozen in the freezer of the castle?" "That's because I was frozen by Cetric after I failed in a certain operation." Speaking of this, Bucky glanced at Colin intentionally or unintentionally, and couldn't help shivering, even his resolute eyes also showed a bit of fear. "So that's how it is." After hearing Bucky's explanation, everyone suddenly realized and understood the ins and outs of it. After Bucky was transformed and brainwashed by the Hydra people, he became a murder weapon and performed spying and assassination missions for Hydra. The first few missions went smoothly, until the assassination of the Howards was stopped and repulsed by Colin more than 10 years ago. Baron Citric was very disappointed by this, so he kept Bucky in cold storage for more than 10 years. Hearing this, Colin and Tony exchanged glances, and they both saw the understanding in each other's eyes. Winter Soldier Bucky once assassinated their Howards. Logically speaking, they should also be regarded as enemies. But having said that, Bucky can't be blamed entirely. After all, he was brainwashed by Hydra and had no consciousness at that time, and he was just a tool man at the mercy of others. Fortunately, Colin's timely rescue saved the Howards from danger, and Bucky did not make a big mistake. Otherwise, if it was left in the original book, Tony and Steve would have turned against each other and completely broke up because of it. Although there will be some estrangement between the two sides, it is still within an acceptable range and will not tear the face. Walking out of the treatment room, Colin still had a doubt in his heart. That's how Baron Citric transformed Wanda and Quicksilver into super abilities with superpowers without the mind gem. He just had some vague guesses, but he couldn't confirm it until the results came to light. Driven by curiosity, Colin came to Dr. Banner's laboratory. "Banner, what's the matter? Is there any result from the experiment?" Colin glanced at Quicksilver and the Wanda siblings strapped to high-tech detectors, and asked Banner. After returning from Italy, Banner followed Colin's instructions and collected blood and cell samples from the two, and then tested and analyzed them. "Well, there are already some eyebrows." Dr. Banner pushed the glasses frame on the bridge of his nose with his fingertips and said, "By testing the blood and cell samples from the two people, I found that none of them had any traces of radiation, but the genes in their bodies had been re-edited and modified." Colin's eyes brightened. "That is to say, Shimon is a mutant." "Banner. To be precise, they are not the mutants of the common, both in terms of adaptability and potential for development are far superior to the mutants of the common." "So it is. 790 Colin's eyes were fixed, and there was a flash of light in his eyes. This really confirmed his previous conjecture that Baron Citric wanted to cultivate two powerful mutants without Mind Gem, so it was very likely that he would use the method of transforming the X gene in their bodies. And according to Banner, this transforming mutant technology is many times better than the transforming technology that General Stryker used on the dead woman. You know, Wanda and Quicksilver are outstanding among the original books. Quicksilver's super speed thinking and super speed movement ability are comparable to the Marvel version of the Flash, which can be as fast as lightning or even surpass the speed of light. As for Scarlet Witch Wanda, let alone, Thanos was almost torn apart in the final battle. The Scarlet Witch in the comics is one of the 12 Omega mutants. After driving the origin magic power to the extreme, it even reversed the entire universe, which shows how powerful her ability is. The X genes of common mutant are random and disordered, and there may be many flaws, while the optimized X genes like Wanda and Quicksilver tend to be more perfect and contain endless potential. It is not difficult to train to surpass the height of Professor X and Magneto. So to a certain extent, the Quicksilver and Wanda in front of me may be stronger than the Mind Gem boost in the original book. However, their at the moment ability seems to be still in its infancy and has not been fully developed. If you follow the instructions carefully, you may be able to use them for your own use. Two super mutants that have optimized the X gene are a bit interesting. Thinking of this, Colin's eyes brightened, and the corners of his mouth curled into a sly arc. Colin's eyes wandered over Quicksilver and Wanda. Both of you have abilities that cannot be underestimated, but what is more important now is a mentor to tap your potential. It has to be said that these two super mutants have extraordinary potential, but they are still unable to control their power well. Thoughts were surging in his mind, and Colin soon thought of a place to go. With a wave of Colin's hand, the ropes that bound Quicksilver and Wanda fell off automatically. Immediately under the amazed gazes of the two, Colin summoned a magic portal, and then dragged Quicksilver and Wanda into the magic portal. Shua, shua, shua. Quicksilver and Wanda felt dizzy for a while, and when they came back to their senses, they had already appeared in an ancient castle manor with a quiet environment and more magnificent than Hydra headquarters. Colin. Professor X at the moment was chatting cordially with the mutant students who were taking breaks between classes on the playground, mingling with each other. When he saw Lin Shi who came across time and space, he couldn't help being slightly taken aback. Professor X, I haven't seen you for a few days, but your complexion has improved a lot. Colin said with a slight smile. It's all thanks to your blessing. Now our mutants' living environment has been greatly improved. A large part of this is due to your credit. I have to thank you. Professor X's warm smile was full of gratitude, then his gaze passed over Colin, and then settled on Wanda and Quicksilver. Could it be that these two are also our kind? Yes, they all belong to the mutant group, but they are more special than the common mutant. I believe you will be interested in them. So you're here this time to let them join Xavier's school and learn how to control their own power. Backquote. Yes, congratulations on your answer. Colin raised his eyebrows and said, for them, Professor X, the spiritual leader of Mutant, is undoubtedly a very good mentor. Although these words sound somewhat joking, I have the right to take them as your sincere words. Professor X touched his shiny forehead with his palm, and said a little dumbfounded. Okay, then these two people will trouble you, goodbye. Colin waved his hand, stuffed the letterhead with the basic information of Quicksilver and Wanda into Professor X's pocket, and then disappeared out of nowhere in a flash. Staring at the back of Colin leaving, Wanda's beautiful eyes had a strange light, but soon her attention was the same as that of the big brother, focusing on the kind old man in front of her, and this utopian college full of mutants. Among. Shua. The next moment, Colin was back in the new Stark building. As soon as he got back to the new Stark building, Colin immediately called his younger brother Tony Stark. When Tony pushed the door and entered, a huge amount of materials and certificates were piled up in front of him. Big brother, what does this mean? Tony couldn't help but bewildered when he saw this, and at the same time, an ominous premonition rose in his heart somehow, making the arc reactor embedded in his chest tremble slightly. What do you mean? Tony, you should understand that the big brother can't always protect you from the wind and rain. You have grown up, and it's time to learn to manage the company's affairs while doing your own research. Colin propped his elbows on the desk, crossed his fingers against his chin, and said to Tony in a serious tone. With the great success of Pacifist PX series and Superman APP and other products, Stark Enterprise can be described as flourishing, in full swing, and has entered a stable track. And Colin's assets have long been rich and powerful, and he has inexhaustible wealth for several lifetimes. Going to explore the universe, Kaylin felt that it was time to entrust some things to Tony. As long as he continued to operate according to the track he had planned and nothing went wrong, then Stark would be able to stand tall in the business world. Invincible position. Tony. Big brother, are you serious? Hearing Colin's words, several black lines appeared on Tony's forehead. This is obviously because you want to throw away the pick and get out of the way to be a shopkeeper. And you have to make such a high-level reason. Stop talking nonsense. I am sailing the universe this time for the company's future consideration. In short, this is a task entrusted to you, just do as I say. Colin said calmly without blushing. Yes, Colin just wants to be a hands-off shopkeeper, wouldn't it be great? You can't experience the happiness of throwing your hands away from the shopkeeper. Immediately afterwards, Colin didn't care whether Tony was willing or not, and directly stuffed those things to the other party. These treatments and certificates allow Tony to perform the duties of managing the company, but the legal person of the company is still Colin, which means that the ownership of the company is still firmly in the hands of Colin. Seeing that he is not as stubborn as a big brother, Tony can only agree to take over the task of managing the company. At this point, he also realizes that the carefree life of drinking and picking up girls is completely gone forever. In the following time, Colin devoted all his time and energy to planning space travel. For Colin, the real journey is the sea of stars. The purpose of this space voyage is first to explore various rare resources hidden in the depths of the universe, and secondly, to take this opportunity to test the strength of some cosmic bosses Wang Lihao. Plan ahead. The voyage tool he is on is Tony's improved light-speed engine spaceship Brive. Its super configuration and multi-functions are sufficient for this voyage mission. In addition, Colin has also finalized 2 accompanying crew members. One is Mr. Fantastic Reed, while the other is Spider-Man Peter Parker. The former has experience in space research. He can not only drive a spacecraft, but also be a technology player. In addition, Colin also needs Spider-Man as his assistant, which can not only supplement the combat power to a certain extent, but also play a role in adjusting the atmosphere during the boring sailing journey. 1 month later, after preparing all the materials, Colin boarded the light-speed engine spaceship together with Reed and Peter Parker, and started the journey of the universe. The anti-gravity system is activated. Light-speed engine turbo on. The navigation vector is locked. Enter system coordinates. The mass repeater starts to accelerate. Countdown to interstellar short distance jump. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. With the end of the countdown, I saw a blur of things around me. The next moment, Kaylin and his party had already arrived in the vast universe in the spaceship Brive. Wow, where are we now? Why did we suddenly come to a dark place? Is this the universe? We came here so soon. Peter Parker was full of surprise, and couldn't help shouting excitedly. We have now left the atmosphere and appeared in the starry sky 100,000 miles away from the Earth. Reed, who was driving the spaceship, couldn't help but said with a smile. Spider-Man is the first time to come to the universe away from the region, so it is reasonable to be like a curious baby. In contrast, Reed has experience in space navigation, so he is more calm. It's not a bad thing that Tony improved. Colin's eyes froze, shining brightly. The new functionality of the Brive spaceship is largely due to Tony. During this period, Tony 813 has been improving and perfecting the light-speed engine spacecraft. On the basis of the original light-speed engine, Tony also equipped the spaceship with a mass relay and an interstellar transition system, which is similar to the impulse effect of Selvig. The improved spacecraft can enter the target coordinates in the holographic multi-dimensional mode to automatically formulate the route, and enter the jump mode to jump to the target through the space supermembrane. In other words, it is to use the space supermembrane as coordinates to realize short-distance interstellar jumps. Although it is only a short interstellar jump, thanks to this function, the Brive spacecraft can span a distance of more than 100,000 miles in an instant, which can effectively shorten the voyage time. Towards the bird galaxy we expected. Clear. Driven by the speed of light engine, the Brive crossed the dark and deep universe like a streamer, and embarked on a journey of the universe. With his hands behind his back, Colin looked out through the porthole of the spaceship at the rapidly receding bright stars, and couldn't help feeling a little emotional. What I have to say is that this universe is really vast and boundless, and being in it also makes Kaylin feel a little BFBI, small and insignificant. Even the Earth and even the solar system, in the entire universe, are just a drop of water in the endless Wongyang. Countless planets, numerous fixed stars, and incalculable galaxies have jointly built this vast and boundless universe. Not to mention, there are even more complex multi-universes and parallel universes. Ding! The host has made the choice to explore the universe. Congratulations on getting the reward. Dongwang Bell. The unemotional system prompt sounded at the right time, which lifted Colin's mind. Colin was lost in thought. In the system reward interface, there appeared an ancient clock in the dark yellow color of chaos. Outside the bell, the sun, moon, stars, earth, water, fire, and wind surround it. Inside the bell, there are mountains, rivers and earth, and thousands of peoples loom in it, and there is also the solemn voice of Huang Zhangdalu, which is deafening and amazing. Haha, the Dongwang Bell, one of the 3 great innate treasures and the top 10 artifacts, the Dongwang Bell is here. Colin swallowed deeply, his heart was burning, and he suddenly burst into ecstasy. Throughout the entire prehistoric world, the Dongwang Bell can be regarded as the supreme magic weapon. It has the power to suppress chaos, the power to reverse time and space, the power to refine yin and yang, the power to reverse the universe, and increase the luck of the world. This treasure is infinitely mysterious and infinitely good. It can imprison time and suppress space. One of the 3 innate treasures. After Pengu opened the sky, his left eye turned into a sun star. Dongwang Tai embraced Chaos Bell, conceived out of the sun star, and later changed its name to Dongwang Bell. With a thought in Colin's mind, he saw the Eastern Emperor clock ticking and turning in the reward column, and then it turned into a yellow light and fell into Colin's eyebrows. The Eastern Emperor Bell is a treasure that integrates offense and defense. It can not only suppress primordial chaos, but also has a very strong defense. It can even evolve a world. Unlock the layers of restrictions on the Eastern Emperor Bell. Berlin also understands it better. The power of the Eastern Emperor Bell is not limited to this. In addition, it can also be integrated into any original world. Even in the Marvel Universe, it can be integrated without any violation. It can also evolve and create a world originally, and gods such as the Yellow Emperor and Hu Zongxian also used it to create the world of mountains and seas and the world of clouds, which can be described as infinitely wonderful. With the Dongwang Bell in his hands, Colin has more confidence in his heart. Even if he is facing the venerable power in Marvel, he will not be afraid. If he can beat it, he will fight it. All in all, one more magic weapon is one more way to defend against the enemy. Next, Colin began to fully understand the mystery of the Eastern Emperor Bell. A group of people took the Brive and headed for the Bird Galaxy according to the original plan. Sailing in space is far more boring than imagined. Because as far as the eye can see is the vast space and the stars, a quiet silence, as if there is no end and boundary. Fortunately, during this long journey, there is Spider-Man Peter Parker to liven up the atmosphere, otherwise it would be even more boring. Time flies, and the white horse passes by. In the blink of an eye, half a month has passed. At the moment, Brive has left the entire solar system far behind, and has also left the scope of the galaxy system, and has come to the more mysterious and unpredictable extragalactic galaxy. In the cabin, Colin was sitting cross-legged on a futon. Chaos black and yellow Dongwang Bell was spinning in front of him, and the sound of the yellow bell and Dalu could be faintly heard. Between Colin's 10 fingers, wisps of star power penetrated into the Eastern Emperor Bell, and the splendor flowed, buzzing and vibrating, refining it little by little. Diddy detected that an unknown flight object is approaching from 100 miles away. At this moment, an alarm in the spaceship also interrupted Colin's thoughts of refining the treasure. Unidentified flight object. Colin frowned slightly. With curiosity, Colin put the Eastern Emperor Bell into the ring of the Nightcaller, then walked out of the cabin and came to the central control cabin. What happened? Not far away, there are 2 groups of space fighters moving here quickly. Colin looked out through the protective porthole in the direction Reed pointed, and saw several space fighters chasing and intercepting an eagle-shaped fighter, and a space pursuit battle was being staged. Where there are people, there are fights. Looking at the huge interstellar world is no exception. It's just that Colin didn't expect that the first time he saw the appearance of life in the universe turned out to be such a space chase. I saw several space fighters besieging an orange and blue fighter that looked like an eagle and had 3 wings on the left and right. Shua, shua, shua. I saw that fighter plane shuttled through the artillery fire of the enemy planes like a butterfly piercing through flowers. Although the combat power of this fighter plane was also very powerful, it was ultimately outnumbered and could only avoid their pursuit. And they are quickly heading towards the Brive. Shish. During the chase, stray artillery shells fired by a space fighter jet roared towards this side. If Reed hadn't manipulated the fighter plane to dodge in time, he might have been hit. It's so scary. Parker took a deep breath. It was the first time he encountered such a battle in space. Captain, what shall we do now? Reed turned his head to Colin for advice. Colin is the master of the ship, and any countermeasures must first obtain his orders and permission. Clean up all the guys who are in the way. Colin put his hands behind his back, his sharp hawk-like eyes flashed with divine light, and his words carried undeniable majesty. This pursuit might not be able to pose a threat to the Brive, so in Colin's view, as long as there is a possibility of threatening their existence, they must be eliminated. Obey. Reed nodded, then adjusted the airborne muzzle and activated the fire control system. Bang bang bang. Bunches of condensed and penetrating interstellar railguns are fired out. Immediately afterwards, clusters of gorgeous fireworks burst out from the pitch-black galaxy, and those space fighters that were approaching quickly were all destroyed. These space fighters are really vulnerable. Colin nodded in satisfaction. When Tony improved this spaceship, he not only optimized the entire power engine, but also equipped it with a powerful firepower system. The first time it was triggered in the universe, it showed its edge. The only remaining eagle-shaped fighter jet penetrated the thick gunpowder smoke, but its body seemed to have suffered a lot of damage during the battle, and the arc flickered and black smoke filled the air. The eagle-shaped fighter plane hovered unsteadily near the Brive, and the pilot on it waved to Colin and the others after glancing at the Earth text mark on the Brive. At the same time, he also used a loudspeaker to say, "Are you from the Tellan Star?" "I am also from the Tellan Star. Can I stop here for a while? My fighter plane is a bit damaged." Transtars. Colin frowned slightly, pondering slightly. The special blue star people here naturally refer to the Earthlings, but this is a special name given to the Earthlings by the aliens, and the Earthlings would not call themselves like this under normal circumstances. However, what the other party said was indeed an authentic Earth language, which cannot be simulated by a cosmic translator. Could it be that this guy really came from the Earth? Out of curiosity, Colin asked Reed to do the butt. Under Reed's control, the Brive hovered above the eagle-shaped fighter, and its 6 tough and powerful mechanical arms stretched out like spider legs. After stretching slightly, it firmly held the eagle-shaped fighter tightly. Hooping, completed fitting and docking. Wow, this spaceship is too cool. How long ago was the Earth's technology so advanced? The pilot of the eagle-shaped fighter jumped onto the flight deck, and when he carefully looked at the artwork-like spaceship in front of him, he couldn't help saying with emotion, "Once upon a time. Could it be that you still have an old impression of Earth technology? Then can I judge that you originally lived on Earth, but were taken away from Earth many years ago?" The voices came from far to near, and Colin, Parker, and Reed walked out of the central control cabin and came to the flight deck. "How do you know what I've been through?" "Definitely by my guesswork. Such an excellent speculative ability almost makes people think that Sherlock Holmes is reincarnated." Peter Parker. Our captain's resourcefulness is far superior to that of Sherlock Holmes, not to mention his strength comparable to the level single universe. Compared to level single universe. The driver eyed Colin suspiciously. And Colin also looked at each other. The person in front of him was a man with human appearance and characteristics, with slightly curly gold hair, a miniature device planted on his neck, 2 guns pinned to his waist, and Red's leather trench coat looked very aggressive. Looking at the appearance of the man in front of him, and thinking about what he said before, a name soon appeared in Colin's mind, Xingju. Star-Lord, born Peter Quill, was born of Ego of the celestial race and Meredith Quill of the Earth Woman, and possesses half-god and half-human blood. When Quill was 9 years old, his mother died of a serious illness. At the moment, he was taken away from the Earth by Yondu the Predator, and he has been living in space ever since. When he grew up, Peter called himself Star-Lord, and specialized in stealing space treasures. He is a legendary thief in the interstellar world and a core figure in the future Guardians of Galaxy. Thinking of this, Kay Linton regretted letting this guy board his spaceship. After all, it's not good to let a thief get too close. Okay, now it's time to explain why you were hunted down by those people. Colin pointed to the somewhat damaged Marana fighter plane and asked. You should be able to know that if you want to make a living in the highly competitive space, you have to complete some tasks that ordinary people can't do. I just had a small accident when I was performing a task. Xingju leaned on the wall of the flight deck with one hand, and said in a somewhat ruffian way. Hearing the other party's words, Colin narrowed his eyes and translated his words subconsciously. According to the meaning of this passage, he should have been discovered by someone while stealing something, so he was hunted down. Hello, my name is Peter Quill, and I'm also called Star-Lord. Star-Lord, Star Prince. This title is quite unique. Colin rolled his eyes at Xingju, and couldn't help talking around the ground. As the son of Ego from the Celestial Group, you Star-Lord is also a demigod body after all, but you have fallen into the tragic situation of stealing things and being hunted down. Others Iron Man is a mortal who stands shoulder to shoulder with a god. Looking at Xingju again, it is quite certain that the body of a god is comparable to mortals. After all, you are also the son of the god group, but you have been reduced to the point of being hunted down. Don't be ashamed. Oh no, are you losing your mind? In Colin's opinion, this Star-Lord is a bit tasteless. His demigod body is also a bit of a misnomer, at least not yet. Star-Lord's Marana was damaged to a certain extent, and it can only sail again after repairs, which will take about 3 or 4 days. During this time, Star-Lord hopes that Colin can take him in first. After a moment of hesitation, Colin agreed to Star-Lord's request. Colin also had his own considerations for making such a decision. # F2, 2 equals. After all, it was the first time for Kay Linton and his party to leave the Milky Way. Even Reed, who had experience in space navigation, was confined to the solar system, so he was really unfamiliar with this extragalactic galaxy. On the other hand, Xingju is an old fritter who has been in the space. He has been squatting in the interstellar prison for a long time, so he is naturally clear about this area of space. Therefore, it is a good choice for Xingju to temporarily leave, 440, on the bribe to serve as their guide. What's more, Colin is currently unable to determine where the plot progress of Guardians of Galaxy is. From Xingju's mouth, he may be able to ask some key clues and the like. After weighing the pros and cons, Colin agreed to let him stay. In the following time, the bribe turned off the light speed engine and propulsion system, and hovered in the starry sky without moving. As a space robber in space, Xingju is also quite skilled in repairing spaceships, and with Reed beside him as technical guidance, it went smoothly. The disheveled Xingju got out of the cabin, panted and wiped the sweat off his face, and casually threw the repaired tools aside. I'm so tired, why don't we relax? I'm curious what you, a space bandit, relax like. Reed showed a playful look. Hold on. I saw Xingju carefully took out a Walkman from the storage box, and put a selected tape into it, followed by a cheerful melody. After thinking for a moment, Reed said, if I guess right, the title of this song should be called, Falling in This Feeling. Star-Lord nodded. Bingo, that's right, this song and Blue Suite are 2 classic singles released in 1973. This old song has been around for a while, and you really miss it. Reed said with a little emotion, but then again, this song is also a track he heard on his father's tape recorder when he was a child, so he has an impression. The release time of this song is older than his age, few young people now know about it. For example, Parker has never heard of it, but this does not prevent him from appreciating the song. That's the feeling, let's dance together. With the brisk and melodious rhythm, Xingju began to break dance popular in the 1980s and 1990s on the flight deck. Parker on the other side also swayed his body and couldn't help but join in the dance. Every point of the dance that these two danced was perfectly missed. It was simply embarrassing. The two men danced awkwardly in response to each other. This scene can be described as quite eye-catching, but the two funny comparisons, but he was intoxicated in the dance that he thought was beautiful and couldn't extricate himself. Reed, who is not sociable, looks at the side with a confused face. Is it so natural for two people to dance together now? Immediately, Parker specially took a video of the two dancing and uploaded it to the Superman app, and added, "Record the beautiful moment of dancing with Star-Lord for the first time in space, smiling face, cool. I think it's more appropriate to describe it as congenial." Colin, who was sitting on the sofa, couldn't help laughing when he saw this. Although the dancing postures of these two people are a bit awkward, they fit each other perfectly, and it seems that there is no sense of disobedience. Is this the number one in Legendary? I can dance. You can dance. Coincidentally, I can too. And these songs are too old-fashioned. But having said that, there is a reason why Xingju likes these classic old songs so much. In the 1980s, before Xingju's mother passed away, she collected all her favorite pop songs and gave them to Xingju as gifts, and then Xingju was taken into space by Yondu, and has been living in space ever since. And these only classic music are entrusted with Xingju's mourning and fond memories of his mother, so these tapes are still inseparably treasured by Xingju after nearly 30 years, which is enough to show how much he loves these tapes treasured. Just when Colin couldn't bear to look at their awkward dance, a few interstellar news were being broadcast on the Interstellar News channel. Yesterday, Captain Marvel Carol single-handedly quelled the dispute between the two great civilizations of the Andromeda Galaxy. Affected by a small universe explosion a few months ago, the prices of items in the interstellar trade market and the black market have also risen. Gao Tianzun invites masters from all over the universe to come to the Sakar arena for a duel, to make friends with martial arts, and to have a showdown. The winner can get a high bonus. Today's small-scale demonstrations spread all over the Kari Empire, protesting the peace agreement signed by the Kari Emperor and Xandar Star Nova Supreme recently. This station will continue to pay attention to this incident. Hearing this news broadcast, Colin's eyes lit up. According to the above, it is estimated that it will soon enter the official plot of Guardians of Galaxy, so, isn't that thing about to surface? Colin couldn't help guessing. Perhaps to confirm his conjecture, soon, a call was made to Xingju's quantum communicator. What is the old man doing calling at this time? Xingju picked up the quantum communicator and glanced at the number on it. He couldn't help frowning slightly, and muttered softly. After a moment of hesitation, he still answered the phone. At the same time, the image of the caller also appeared on the quantum communicator. This is an alien man with 4.2 blue skin. There are many scars all over his rough face, a little gray hair on the top of his head, and an eye-catching big inlaid mouth full of tooth stains. Gold tooth. Colin squinted his eyes, and his eyes were fixed, and he recognized the identity of the other party as Yondu at a glance. Yondu is the adoptive father of Star-Lord, the leader of the space pirate organization Predator, who is engaged in the business of robbing and stealing in space, and he can also be regarded as the leader of Star-Lord. Xingju, what happened to that mission? Something went wrong. Forget it, now there is another big deal. No matter what, it must be successful this time. What deal? After Yondu pondered for a moment, his words sounded again. Go to Morag and steal a mysterious cosmic sphere. Molag, the cosmic sphere. The two key words on the phone came to Colin's ears, which shocked him and almost yelled. Colin is naturally very familiar with the cosmic sphere that Yondu mentioned. This is nothing but the power gem, one of the 6 infinite gems. According to the progress of the plot, the power gem should still be sealed in the Morag star, and Yondu and Xingju's next target to steal it is it, but they still don't know that the cosmic sphere is the power gem. At this moment, Colin is also coveting this power gem. After all, he already has the 2 infinite gems of mind and reality. The 3 of them can also compete with it. Thoughts were churning in his mind, although Colin's heart was full of turmoil, but on the surface he remained calm, as if nothing had happened. On the other side, Xingju hung up the phone and was secretly thinking about the cosmic sphere. Seeing this situation, Colin pretended to ask, "What's wrong?" Xingju glanced at Colin and said, "I just received a new mission on 15th, so I have to set off immediately. Our direction is also over there, but it can take you a ride." No, I'll go by myself. There was a trace of suspicion in Xingju's eyes, as if he was not at ease. As a thief in space, Xingju seldom trusts people 100%, even if the other party is also from the Earth. Then do you think there is any room for negotiating conditions now? Colin narrowed his eyes, shrugged his shoulders and said, in order to make the other party relax, he said. Don't worry, I'm not interested in your so-called mission, I just want to explore how this abandoned Morag star was formed. Reed on the side echoed. Yes, the purpose of our trip is to explore in space. An abandoned planet has a lot of research value. Xingju rubbed his chin, nodded after pondering for a moment. All right then. As Colin said, he really has no right to choose now, and if he takes a ride, he may be able to speed up the progress of the action. Xingju walked to the center console, and entered the specific coordinates of Morag on the star navigator. Immediately afterwards, Reed turned on the light speed engine in the propulsion system, adjusted the direction and headed towards the Morag star. After more than 10 days, the Brive spacecraft traveled through the extragalactic galaxy and came to the Large Magellanic Cloud galaxy, and finally found the Morag star according to the specific coordinates provided by Star-Lord. The Morag star is an abandoned planet located on the edge of the Large Magellanic Cloud galaxy. From some traces here, we can faintly see the prosperity of the past, but for some unknown reason, the city withered. With the landing of the spaceship Brive, Reed and Parker in spacesuits stepped off from the spaceship. As for Colin's physical body, he has already been sanctified as extraordinary, impervious to water and fire, even in the harsh space environment also has no effect. As for Xingju, he drove the repaired Marana and also docked on a flat place. He pressed the tiny device on his neck, and the next moment, a metal helmet wrapped his head instantly, and his eyes were opened. The function of the infrared night vision device has been added. Now that we have reached our destination, it is time for us to say goodbye. Xingju waved at Kaylin and the others. Seeing this, Parker was full of reluctance. After all, the two parties have become friends after contacting during this period of time. On the contrary, Colin said with a smile, okay, you go to complete your task, and we are going to carry out scientific research tasks. At the spaceship dock, the two sides waved goodbye and parted ways. Xingju held an energy detector to search nearby, and the infrared night vision device in his helmet allowed him to act like daylight in the dark night. The planet Morag is as pitted as the surface of the moon. Many animals and plants on the surface of the Earth have been petrified and dried up. It is very barren and full of decay. Even so, Xingju is not discouraged, because all these years of being a space thief, the clues and information provided to him by Yandu have never been wrong. Sure enough, after walking more than 10 miles away, Xingju finally found some clues in a huge abandoned building similar to a palace. At the same time, the energy detector also began to emit a rapid beep, and the value displayed on it skyrocketed, all of which meant that there were strong energy fluctuations and traces of life forms here. Xingju took a look at this empty and mysterious abandoned giant hall, and all the previous speculations were confirmed. If the display is good, then the cosmic sphere should be covered in dust. According to the old man Yongdu, this cosmic sphere seems to contain a lot of value. If I take it all and exchange it for star coins, then I will have nothing to worry about for the rest of my life. I will get rid of the Predator organization and find a what could be more satisfying than enjoying life in interstellar paradise. Thinking up to this point, Xingju looked full of longing. He couldn't hold back his excitement, and then he put on his earphones and played the Walkman, and performed an awkward dance in this abandoned giant hall. Xingju waded through the puddle, crossed the ravine, and after walking through the giant hall for a while, he finally came to the end. A thick door made of unknown materials blocked in front of him. With the baptism of the years, it is already full of spots of rust, but the mechanisms inside it are well preserved. As a notorious space robber, opening a mechanism is a piece of cake for Star-Lord. With a sharp creak, the door was pushed open by Xingju from the outside, and at the same time, a well-structured and well-arranged storage room also caught his eyes. In the center of the secret room, within a cylindrical light curtain, there is a cosmic sphere the size of a lead ball suspended, shining brightly, and the blue shell is engraved with exquisite patterns and textures. While looking at the cosmic sphere, Star-Lord murmured, The shiny blue shell looks a lot like the Ark of the Covenant in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the statue in The Maltese Falcon. After restraining his thoughts, Xingju took out his equipment bag, and then took out a triangular magnetic attractor from it and placed it on the ground. As the machine was turned on, the cosmic sphere in the light curtain suddenly received some kind of traction force, suddenly broke through the shackles of the light curtain, and was then attached to the magnetic attractor by adsorbent. Successful. Xingju's eyes lit up, and he said in surprise. However, before he had time to take a deep breath, he saw a figure as fast as a ghost flying towards him from a distance, and in the blink of an eye, he came to him, and stared at Xingju's astonished expression. The cosmic sphere was collected in the palm of the hand. That black shadow, from appearing out of thin air to snatching the cosmic sphere, the whole process was smooth, and it took less than a second. When Xingju saw the other person's face clearly, he couldn't help but widen his eyes, full of disbelief. Colin, how did you find this place? What Xingju didn't expect was that this person was none other than Colin, who just parted ways with him. You're not the only one with energy detectors. Colin shrugged his shoulders with a half smile, and at the same time, he looked at the cosmic sphere in his palm with great interest. Xingju rushed forward, intending to snatch the cosmic sphere, but was bounced away by the star power released by Colin, and flew backwards like a discouraged ball, full of embarrassment. Stop hitting a rock with a pebble, you have no chance of winning against me. Colin curled his lips, and said with a bit of a joke on his face. Star-Lord's undeveloped demigod body is not enough to look at in front of Colin. Even if his God group father, Ego, is another existence in the level single universe, then the demigod body of Xingju will undoubtedly be greatly discounted. In addition, he still can't control his own power, so he is above the Earth level God under Father. How can he be Colin's opponent? I didn't expect to be on all possible precautions, but I was still calculated by you. There was a wry smile on the corner of Xingju's mouth, seeing that the things he had planned to steal turned out to be stolen by others. His mentality was about to collapse. At the moment Star-Lord felt so annoyed, he shouldn't have been on Colin's pirate ship in the first place. Tap tat tat. At this moment, there were hurried footsteps outside the secret room from far to near, and then more than a dozen uninvited guests in armor and with crystal energy bodies on their heads rushed into the secret room one after another. They raised the pulse guns in their hands and pointed them at Colin and Star-Lord in the secret room. The leader was a man with a fierce face. His eyes wandered past Colin and Xingju, and then stopped at the cosmic sphere in Colin's palm. There was a hint of burning and greed in his eyes. Recognize the current situation. You are surrounded, hand over the cosmic sphere obediently, and come back with us to Ronan. Kolas is an interstellar hunter who works for Ronan. Their mission is to seize the cosmic sphere in Ronan's name. Unexpectedly, someone will be the first to reach it. However, in Kolas' view, as long as these guys are dealt with, the cosmic sphere will naturally it's within reach. I remember an old saying in China that the mantis catches the cicada and the oriole is behind. It seems that you are just a mantis, and the real oriole is them. Xingju pointed at these uninvited guests and teased Colin. Wrong, the latecomer may not necessarily be the oriole, but it may also be the overconfident Lang. Colin raised his eyebrows, and the corners of his mouth curled up playfully. Xingju didn't react for a moment, he was pondering the meaning of these words. You two guys, don't you think we are air? Just like I said, hand over the cosmic sphere obediently. No. Kolas yelled harshly, but before he finished speaking, Colin's figure suddenly blurred and disappeared into the air. In a blink of an eye, Colin had already rushed forward, punching Kolas's chest with a seemingly gentle punch, and in an instant, he did the same thing, walking from around the dozen or so star hunters like a butterfly wearing flowers. Shuttle past, leaving a fist mark on them. Then Colin flashed back to the spot, with a calm expression on his face. Boom boom boom. The next moment, more than a dozen interstellar hunters headed by Kolas trembled, and the star power imprinted into their bodies burst out suddenly, and more than 10 people exploded to death before they could scream. Severed limbs flew, wreckage splashed everywhere, and the air was filled with thick blood mist. Although these interstellar hunters are also brave and elite people in space, they are not Zhong Lin's tenfold enemy when their strength is crushed. Seeing this situation, Xingju couldn't help but gasped, his scalp was numb, and he was frightened. But in the blink of an eye, more than a dozen star hunters were instantly killed. What a terrifying power this is. Having said that, did the other party bump into him just now? Could it be that he will be reduced to the same fate as these people later? Xingju said that he was panicking now, his forehead was dripping with sweat, and he was afraid that he would explode and die in the next moment. Glancing at Xingju's terrified expression, Colin said lightly, "Don't worry, I'm not some heinous devil, besides, I'm not interested in killing a douchebag." After a long while, Xingju didn't feel anything unusual, and only then he let out a long sigh of relief, but only now did he realize the extent of the quasi-level single universe in Legendary. It's simply shocking. At the same time, Xingju was also faintly afraid. Fortunately, he didn't do anything drastic because the cosmic sphere was taken away just now, otherwise he would have been decapitated at this moment. "Captain, are you all right?" Moments later, Reed and Parker heard the news and rushed to reinforce. When they came to the secret room, they confirmed that Colin and Xingju were safe and sound, and glanced at the thick blood mist filling the air, and faintly realized something. They couldn't help but looked at each other, and crazy brainstorming began in their minds. Although they had seen Colin's strength long ago, they still couldn't hide their shock and amazement at this moment. In a certain corner of the large Magellanic Cloud, in a warship named Dark Star String, a general of the Kree Empire with blue skin, sunken eye sockets, and two black lines printed on the left and right cheeks stepped slowly from the bath into the hall. He opened his arms wide, accepting the dressing decorations of the servants, and soon a dark black war robe shrouded his body, adding a bit of viciousness and majesty. Ronan. The Carey Empire accused the leader of the Legion, the Supreme General, to be an out-and-out fanatic. Today, small-scale demonstrations spread throughout the Carey Empire, protesting the recent peace agreement signed between the Carey Emperor and Xandar Star Nova Supreme. We will continue to monitor this incident and, at the moment, a new alert on interstellar TV caught Ronan's mind. Ronan scoffed at this. HMPH, the Xandar people's civilization has been corrupted, even the so-called peace agreement can't keep them. Ronan's family was killed in the Kree's war with the Nova Corps, so he refused to heed his empire's peace treaty with Xandar's Nova Corps, and proceeded to genocide all of Xandar. But he couldn't do it alone, so he chose to join forces with Thanos. He wants to use Thanos' power to destroy Xandar, and in exchange, Ronan will help Thanos get something called a cosmic sphere. Have Kolis and the others come back? Not yet. Ronan couldn't help frowning upon hearing this. Just then, a captain ran into the central control hall, Nuo Lee's, in a hurry, and even stumbled accidentally because he was too panicked. What's going on in such a panic? What's the proper way? Ronan grabbed the captain by the neck, gave him a hard look, and reprimanded him. Reporting accusers, the communication channels of the several fighter planes sent out have not responded, and the signals on Kolis and the others have also lost contact. It is very possible that something has happened. What? Hearing what the other party said, Ronan's face suddenly changed. Gamora and Sister Nebula, who were sent by Thanos to help out, also looked at each other in blank dismay. You know, Kolis is Ronan's capable general, and Ronan has never failed the mission assigned to him before, but this time is an exception. Could it be that they encountered some difficult enemies? Find it for me, even if you dig 3 feet into the ground, you must find the cosmic sphere. It must not fall into the hands of others. As if to vent the anger in his heart, Ronan kicked the captain hard to the ground, and the furious roar echoed in the hall. Kaylin and his group came out of the abandoned giant hall. Colin glanced at Xingju who was beside him, and found that the other party looked dazed. After all, the cosmic sphere he had planned to steal turned out to be stolen. How could he feel better? Forget it, don't be sad. You came to steal this cosmic sphere for money after all. This is a check for 100 million yuan, which can be exchanged at Stark Enterprise on Earth at any time. Knowing the other party's mind, Colin wrote Xingju a check for 100 million yuan and handed it to Xingju, speaking to comfort him. 100 million US dollars is equivalent to more than 70 million star coins, which is not a small amount even if it is placed in the universe. Can this check really be cashed? Xingju blinked, and said somewhat uncertainly. Don't worry, our boss is worth hundreds of billions of dollars, how could he cheat you of this little money? Parker patted Xingju on the shoulder, signaling him to relax. Hundreds of billions. Xingju couldn't help but gasped, only feeling that his mind was blank. Hundreds of billions, how many zeros must there be? After a long while, Xingju suppressed the astonishment in his heart. In fact, his original valuation for this cosmic sphere was about 713 million and 30 million. Now, almost 70 million star coins have been recorded in the account in a blink of an eye. Moreover, it is very efficient to be able to trade, which saves a lot of intermediate links for Xingju. Therefore, he also readily accepted the deal before the unhappiness of the universe sphere being robbed was swept away. We each get what we need. Mr. Colin is really a happy person. Thinking of this, Xingju hurriedly put the check signed with Colin's name into his arms, fearing that Colin would regret it in the next second. That's right, I like working with smart people the most. Colin weighed the cosmic sphere in his palm, and said meaningfully to Xingju. As everyone knows, this cosmic sphere is the power gem in Legendary. What is the value of it? I don't know how Xingju felt when he learned that he sold this priceless treasure for 70 million yuan. Definitely, with the strength of Colin's strength, it is natural that he cannot pay this 100 million US dollars, but this 100 million US dollars is just a drop in the bucket for Colin, who has a lot of money. Besides, this Star Lord may still be useful in the future, so there is no need to fight against him. It's not too late, I should leave too, otherwise it will be bad if old man Yandu comes after him, there will be a period later. As he said that, Xingju couldn't wait to get into his Marana, and then drove the Marana away from the planet Morag as if fleeing. Watching the Marana disappear into sight, the corner of Colin's mouth curled up in a sly arc. This guy is still too tender. Looking around at the barren and abandoned Morag star, Colin also had no interest at all, boarded the spaceship Brive together with Reed and Parker, and then took the spaceship into the sky, throwing the entire Morag star into the sky. Behind. Leaving the Morag star, the Brive spacecraft continued to move towards the predetermined coordinates of the Flying Bird galaxy. In the cabin, Colin carefully looked at the cosmic sphere in his hand. As the power representative of one of the 6 infinite gems, the power contained in the power gem has the most direct expression. This gem allows the user to master and manipulate all the powers they try to master, and understand the power law hidden between the heaven and the earth. At the same time, it originally also contains endless energy that will cause damage to its body when the user holds it directly in the hand. Can support other treasures and be able to strengthen their effects. Using this gem, the user can even copy all physical super abilities, and make their own physical attack and defense abilities invincible BFBH. Even the slightest release can release a large number of enemies. The poured energy shockwave can even destroy any planet with an explosion. In the original work, its ability is fully reflected. If Thanos holds the power gem with divine help, the enemies in the battle will be unable to resist a blow. It can release huge amounts of energy explosions, completely destroy the entire Asgard refugee ship, and even blast the small planet into pieces and attack the opponent, thus it can be seen how terrifying this power gem is. However, this power gem cannot be used at will, but it must be embedded in equipment to maximize its power. As strong as Thanos, an infinity gauntlet needs to be created to match it. Turning his mind, Colin lowered his head and stroked the influencer ring on his right index finger. The ability of the influencer is to create various forces to change the human body. To some extent, the influencer, Lord of the Rings, is compatible with the power gem. If it is integrated, a brand new artifact may be born, just like the Lord of the Mind and the Lord of Reappearance. How about we start integrating now? After pondering for a moment, Colin still shook his head, dispelling the idea temporarily. You must know that if you rashly integrate the two, it will undoubtedly consume huge amounts of energy. Moreover, these infinite gems are more powerful and destructive than those in the original book. It is difficult for Colin to guarantee that he can control an infinite gems at the same time. Gems. What's more, we are still in space now, facing many dangers and uncertain factors, and if we are not careful, we may capsize the ship. So after weighing the pros and cons, Colin finally decided to postpone the integrate. He temporarily sealed the power gem in the Eastern Emperor Bell, and then engraved the power law in the Eastern Emperor Bell to offset the repulsive force of the power gem, and then integrated it when the level single universe parted, so that it would be more powerful. It is safe, and it is easier to control the supreme power it contains. Anyway, the power gem has already been obtained, and it will not go anywhere. After Colin made up his mind, he sealed the cosmic sphere inside the Dongwang Bell, and at the same time engraved the power law on the clock wall of the Dongwang Bell. The time spent in space flies by. The vast universe has no boundaries and it is extremely easy to get lost for newcomers. Fortunately, Colin obtained a detailed interstellar map from Star-Lord. Follow the instructions on the map so that they can avoid detours, because the land shortens the travel time. After more than 10 days, they finally passed through the long galaxy and many obstacles, and came to the Bird Galaxy. Having said that, the Oska Galaxy is smaller than the Extragalactic Galaxy and the Large Magellanic Cloud Galaxy, but according to the instrument detection, the energy here is extremely rich and diverse, and contains many rare materials, which is why Colin chose the destination. Great reason to be here. Bird Galaxy. The Brive spacecraft rode across the dark starry sky, just like a small boat sailing in the vast ocean. Stars of various shapes revolve along the established orbits, and bright stars are dotted among them. Parker was using his mobile phone to take pictures of the stars outside the porthole, when he suddenly exclaimed, "Look, what is that?" Colin and Reed on the flight deck looked in the direction pointed by each other. Not far from the oblique front of the spaceship, there hangs an alien with short limbs but a big head, wearing clothes similar to Green's skirt. The unassuming alien quietly watched the movement of the Brive spacecraft. "What kind of alien is this?" Reed said with some doubts. "If my guess is correct, this person should belong to an alien race called observers." Colin squinted his eyes, and there was a bright light in his eyes looking out through the porthole. It turned out to be an observer. No wonder when I first stepped into the Bird Galaxy, I felt that I was being watched. The race of observers appeared when the universe was formed, so they also have a technological level hundreds of millions of years ahead of other beings in the universe. They often appear suddenly in major Marvel events, and he is known as the strongest onlooker emperor in history. Almost every major event has them, but they just watch and do nothing, witnessing as bystanders. Observers believe that their knowledge and power belong to the universe, so they will go to other planets to help the evolution and development of the new peoples there, but it often backfires. It is worth mentioning that a civilization is different only if it has science and technology, and it must have the same level of consciousness civilization to match it. For example, they originally wanted to help a backward planet develop technology, but that planet accelerated its corruption due to technological progress, and finally indirectly led to the destruction of that planet. From then on, the observers decided that they would no longer participate in the events of any living beings in the universe, but would just witness as bystanders, which was their lifelong commitment. After recognizing the other party's identity, Colin didn't pay too much attention to it. These observations are not threatening. You must know that the duty of observers is to witness what is happening in the universe as a bystander, but they will not participate in it. And according to the description in the original book, the observer's strength should be between the Earth level and level Godfather. The technology is very advanced, but the original strength is actually mediocre. Hand Hulk killed several easily. So even if they have evil intentions, Colin can easily kill them in seconds with a crushing momentum. It's just why no trace of the strongest onlooker emperor in history was found before, but he appeared in the Oska Galaxy, which is unknown. And this is not what Colin and others are concerned about. The purpose of their coming to the Bird Galaxy is to be able to explore the environment here and collect the rare resources here. A few days later, the sensors in the spaceship suddenly issued a strong warning sound. After testing, there are a large number of life forms and abundant resources. The prompt echoed on the spaceship, and Colin, Reed, and Parker's eyes lit up when they heard the words, and they all gathered in the central control cabin. You know, since coming to the Bird Galaxy, there has never been such a strong signal prompt, which shows that there are extremely rich resources ahead. As the spacecraft sailed, the signal became stronger and stronger. Not long after, a huge monster came into their sight. At first glance, I thought it was a dwarf planet surrounded by star halos, but I didn't realize its huge size until I got closer, comparable to a large island. It can be vaguely recognized from its outline that this is the head of a towering titan. It is a head with huge amounts of floating in space. This is a Titan's head, this is too exaggerated. Parker was taken aback and couldn't help shouting. Although he came to space and saw many novel and mysterious things, but the huge amounts of head in front of him once again refreshed his cognition. Head of the celestial god group, barren land. After seeing the true face of this giant Lucian, Colin's thoughts turned, and he even found a clue about it from his memory. It was originally a head of the celestial god group floating in the space. As for why he died, it has become a mystery, but there are massive resources and products hidden in this huge head. Hundreds of years ago, Collector Tibbins sent hard workers in to mine the organic matter, bones, brain tissue, and spinal fluid in this skull. These things are all rare products, and almost all the high-priced items in the black market in the entire galaxy come from here. In Guardians of Galaxy, after Star-Lord and Gamora stole the cosmic sphere, they came here to sell it to Collector to share the spoils. To Colin's surprise, this barren land is actually in the Oska galaxy, which is extremely rich in resources. No wonder it was detected that there are a large number of life forms and rich resources gathered here. Read of it the moment operated on the super quantum computer and retrieved the relevant information of the barren land according to the interstellar map provided by Star-Lord. Even without Colin's introduction, Reed and Parker had a preliminary understanding of the barren land in front of them through this relevant information. Captain, what shall we do next? Reed in the driver's seat turned to Colin for instructions. Since you have come here not far away, why don't you go and have a look? Colin raised his eyebrows and said calmly. As soon as these words came out, Reed and Parker also exchanged glances with each other, and they both saw apprehension and expectation in each other's eyes. When they first came here, it was inevitable that they would be nervous and apprehensive, but after a while, they remembered that there was such a powerful figure as Colin as their support, and their original worries and anxiety eased a lot. Immediately afterwards, Reed did not hesitate any longer, and directly drove the Brive spaceship into the inside through the big mouth of the head of the Tianjin group. Although this is the Collector's territory, it is also open to the outside world, so K-Linny and his party can enter the barren land unimpeded. Thanks for watching, please subscribe and support our channel.